It's my duty to please the booty.
And Muzz got mad at me, the coach said, he goes, Jesus Christ, why don't you just work 2 nines? And I went, okay.
Switch the call.
Please never do that.
Yep. So.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 486 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. How goes it, everyone? Big week in the NHL. We get the trade deadline on Friday. Fighting appears to be back. Murls is back, too. Let's say hi to him first. Jump right into it. Dumber. What's going on, buddy?
How we doing, boys? Been a long time being on the mothership here.
How's things, pal?
Good. I'm down in Arlanda Airport right now. If you don't know what that is, that's Stockholm. I'm flying back to New York tomorrow, so I'll be in upstate New York till the end of the NHL Stanley Cup Finals.
So like the airport there, you could just use a lounge to get internet?
We're staying at the hotel. It's actually pretty funny. Yeah. But the hotel I'm staying at, there's 3 of them in the terminal. The one I'm staying at, the business center, is right in the lobby with no doors, nothing. So it would have been chaos. I asked the front desk lady for a room. She said, no, but go ask the other hotel. They'll give you a room. I said, that doesn't make sense. I don't stay there. But anyway, I came over here. I talked English. I think they didn't want to listen to me anymore. They gave me this giant conference room. So here I am. It's nice.
Okay, so I was going to say, you look like you're in a conference room. That's why I asked you that. Now, what's been going on in Murls' world? I mean, obviously you got the EBR crew, like everybody rides. How's the gambling been lately? Are you up? Are you down? Have you been on a hot streak? Have you been following Mr. Ice's advice? Where are you at?
Yeah, the Game Notes is doing well. We just came off a 4-1 Sunday. Huge day. The only miss was Crosby anytime goal, so that was a nice Sunday. I have been riding with Mr. Ice. He finally got off the schneid last night with an absolute charity cover with 2 empty netters. But yeah, he's back. I always ride with Mr. Ice.
I love that.
How many in a row had he been down?
I want to say it was 6. Could have been 7.
God.
But did you see him? He went to church. He went to church Sunday. Took a video. He says, I don't like to do this, but one time. I need one.
No. Inside the church?
Yeah, sitting at the pew.
Portnoy texted me, was Elio crying after that hit last night? I was like, I think it was close. And then he broke his glasses. He could barely rip his shirt. You could hear his daughter yelling in the background. I'm like, that guy needed that win more than anyone I've ever seen.
Hey, since we're on the topic, I think there's a strong possibility that myself, Whit, you're probably going to be coming. Obviously, you guys are invited. The IceCon that is going on March 24th, the Dallas Stars are playing at the Mullet Arena in Tempe. We're going to be doing something at the DraftKings thing. Well, it's Elio's thing. He's throwing it on. So they got a bunch of tickets. You can buy tickets to the Mullet Arena through Elio and go support the whatever. What does he do? What's it called?
IceCon. He's got 200 guys coming or people coming, and they're all going to wear white T-shirts, sit together for the game, and just bet the overs.
And then if the over hits, everybody rips their shirt off, right? That's kind of how it's all going down.
I think so.
So I'm going to be a part of it. I'll be there on the 24th. Whit, I think you're pretty much on board. Yeah. It's gonna be a blast. But what's the whole 3 + 3 = 7? That's his motto.
Yeah, because
we've talked about this a bunch, Biz. Let's see if you can guess it.
Okay.
Oh, obviously, if it's tie, it goes to overtime, and then somebody's got to score. But do you get a point for a shoot? Like, if it's a shootout win, is it an automatic win?
That's a goal. Yeah.
No shit, eh?
Yeah.
They count that?
Well, it has to be they have to give it 1 goal to win the overtime game in a shootout or OT. So once it goes to 3-3, no matter what, that thing's done, unless somehow it's over 7.
Okay, yeah. All right. Interesting. I didn't know that they credited a goal for like the shootout win. I just thought you would have fell short on the over bet. Why are you laughing? That's not that crazy.
What are you talking about, buddy? You're a legitimate NHL analyst, and you didn't know if a game went to OT 3-3 and then went to the shootout. The final was 4-3.
Yeah, no. I meant from like a gambling perspective. I didn't know that they would count if it went to a shootout. To like basically you get the over. I would have assumed obviously if there was an OT goal scored, but once regulation's done, I didn't know they would have credited it from a gambling perspective.
So you're saying if OT ended and the game ended in a shootout and it was 3-3, then maybe the over-under would be a wash?
Yeah, that would have been my assumption.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. It's a guarantee in the house. Okay, so I get the whole. Is there anything else he gets behind? Like
No,
what's
just
his-
overs.
Making
Just
pizza.
overs.
Making pizza and overs. Okay. All right.
Yeah, because the shootout goal doesn't count for the guy. So I could see why you would probably think that. You know what I mean?
That's
'Cause
kinda
it
why
doesn't
I
go
thought
toward his
that,
goal
but-
total. Yeah.
Nice little
Figured as
gambling
much.
tidbit. So it's going to all be brought to you by DraftKings. So we'll see you if you're in the area. Come out. I don't know if it's a sellout. March 24th, and I think it's a late game actually. I think it's like a 7:00 their time. So we'll have all day to party at that DraftKings place next to TPC.
Yeah, I'm on the
Anyway.
fence for that. He's got a guy from Czech coming over for it, JC. So it's wild.
One other thing I wanted to clean up from last podcast is I got a text from Powers, the head coach of ASU, of the men's team. And we talked about this big brawl that went down in Alaska. It was a crazy brawl in which two players were essentially expelled from, were they expelled from school too, or just the team?
Just
I think
suspended
they
for the
just
team,
got.
huh?
I think it's just a team.
So,
Just a team. It was just a team.
okay, so I remember you saying they illegally left the penalty box, but I didn't. I just thought that meant to like leave the penalty box to go fight because fighting's illegal in college, and then you get tossed out of the game. But what these players had done is they got a 10-minute misconduct in which it was explained to me it's kind of ran like a madhouse there. So like the like one of the moms is basically running the PA and the penalty box doors where it's like kind of a shit show. And so the discrepancy is they got a 10-minute misconduct with 16 seconds left in the period. So these players that ended up fighting should have been sent to the locker room. They shouldn't have even been in the penalty box. So the puck ends up dropping, and there was a whistle 5 seconds later. So now there's 11 seconds left on the clock. Well, these two players who are supposed to stay in the penalty box, you can't leave the penalty box unless the penalty expires. They get the doors open for them. And in the video, it clearly shows the lady who's working the door just opens it. So I don't know why she would have ever opened that door for these players since their time hadn't expired.
She wanted to see it tilt.
So these players got on the ice like in the midst of another scrum when they were still. That's why that to me is worse. And I'm kind of on Power's side where that's a bit more of a shit show and something that really wasn't explained as far as the discrepancy. Whit, do you not agree? Because normally, folks, if you're listening, you get out after a whistle after a 10-minute misconduct. So my assumption is they'd already served the full 10 minutes and that was the next whistle that they were waiting to get out. And like, yeah, then they're, release the hounds. But they left.
I wasn't sure. I don't think I just like heard our rate correctly. I thought it was one of those things where they're both getting out like during the play because it looked like the play was going on almost and they went out and just immediately started going at it. But if you get a 10-minute or any penalty and leave the box,
That's what I'm
the
saying.
penalty's
That's
over.
such a crazy discrepancy where
That's
I'm like,
discipline.
what? They left the box like before their time was up? Yeah, that's fucking nuts. Like I would never have done that. I would have waited till it was all said and done. So when Powers said, hey, dickheads, like, do you actually know what happened? I was like, oh shit, okay, yeah. So I feel bad. I feel bad because the kid who did it DM'd me. He was like, hey, thanks for having my back. And then I got that text. So like now right under the bus, back under the bus.
Hey, buddy,
See you, kid.
I don't have your back anymore.
See you, kid.
You're an
get your-
idiot.
DJ
Go
Khalid,
get your
Khalid.
GED at Davenport University where I went.
But you could bounce at the Sundowner.
Okay, and one other thing I want to get ahead of, and it happens later in an interview with Elliotte Friedman. Awesome, just over an hour. He's a fucking beauty.
Ah, so good.
Is I felt like I jammed him up when saying that considering he's working these crazy shifts during this crazy time for him, go get the Thai massage, and automatically he thinks that I'm getting tugged to. I'm going to say the name. It's called Thai Royal Massage, and there's more than one of them. Now, the
They're
reason I
getting
didn't
busted now. There's gonna be the FBI outside.
they
this place
ain't
is
getting
soon.
busted because it's not a rub and tug. It's not. I'm paying homage and respect to the art of Thai massage, where they work with their feet and on the bars to work out your posterior chain. It just so happens to be a massage that I get tons of like response from. And every time I say that, someone kind of look at me like I'm going to get my cock tugged off. I am now going to start gaining offense to. So I just wanted to address that right off the hop. And for all you Thai masseuse out there who aren't getting the fucking respect you deserve, I got your back. I know you.
What do you
ain't
think?
flap-
What do you think our Thai masseuse listenership is at?
I don't know, but I strongly recommend it. And here's another one. There was a viral video that all these people are sending me online of a couple sitting outside at a time, and all they hear is
beating cheeks. The guy was beating cheeks on that Thai woman.
No, buddy. At some point in the massage, they start slapping you to give you a different sensation. They ain't crack. Who the fuck cranks off somebody's horn like that? Like, what the fuck?
No, I think it was a noise of him just putting her on the workbench and like going to town on this woman.
No, buddy. Every
Some Thai
single
fried rice and a little action during your massage.
Every single
pineapple
time.
included.
Anybody who's gone for a respectable Thai massage will know exactly what I'm talking about. As soon as they're done massaging the area, they finish with kind of that slapping stuff to kind of like, oh yeah, shake it out, shake it out. It's all part of the process. So like for them to like act as if somebody's getting brought on the workbench, no.
I want to say that when I'm out for IceCon, you can bring me to your spot, but I feel like if somehow my wife hears this, I'll get divorce papers the minute I come home.
That's a fucking brilliant idea. I think we should all go there the night before for like a pre-game. They don't got the steamer and stuff. The real Mr. Ice shooting
200 Mr. Ice lieutenants showing up, a line out the door. Yeah, that'll be great.
Robert Kraft's like, what is this place? He flies out to Scottsdale.
Yeah. Yeah, the Thai massage 2000 just bukkake fest.
So at the beginning, I didn't believe you. I didn't. But at this point, like,
did you
you're
actually
so adamant.
think
I
I was
100% believe you now, dude.
That's
I
what
really
I'm saying.
do.
Like I wasn't fucking lying about this. I was telling I wouldn't like make that up for content. This is my genuine natural experience to being experienced with to actual Thai massage, not the tomfoolery that everybody suspects I'm talking about. So I'm done.
More worried that
those are the mea
like,
culpas I had for this podcast, by the way.
I'm more worried about not you getting arrested going to this place. Now I'm worried about you spending like your life saving. Like I think you're at like 14 a week. Like you're gonna be spending your whole paycheck at this place.
No, so that's and not to take anything away from the Four Seasons where I stay in Atlanta, but they just simply can't do what these ladies do, and especially for at what the cost that they're charging. It's just they're phenomenal, and I don't know where I was going with that or what even the original question was. You just asked, oh, my life savings. If I did it at the Four Seasons as much as I do the Thai massage, maybe. But no, it's not even that. And that's like my one thing that I splurge on myself for now. Like, you know how some women like shut up. Women, you know, some women like handbags. Like, that's my handbag. Women. That's my handbag. Not hand on my bag.
All women.
That's my handbag. That's my Birkin bag. That's my Birkin ball bag. Anyway, I'm done with the fucking Thai massage. Sorry to. Anyway, I've said my piece.
What up, guys? It's Whit here, and it's time to talk about Pink Whitney. The people at New Amsterdam Vodka created this drink. It's the #1 flavored selling vodka in the United States of America. It tastes great. You catch a wonderful buzz. You have fun with your friends. You have fun with your family. And it's March, right? Football's over. Hockey's getting into the swing of things. But more than anything in March, I think, is St. Paddy's Day. And you get to go out and you can have your green beers. And what's great in between a couple of green beers is a shot of Pink Whitney. Then you have a couple more green beers, and you have another shot of Pink Whitney. Or maybe you're not into beer at all, and you're not into green drinks, so you want to stick to Pink Whitney on the rocks with a little splash of club soda that entire time. So St. Patrick's Day is a fun day to celebrate with your friends. You're out and about. You're watching hoops games. You're watching hockey games. You're getting ready for spring up in the Northeast, in the northern states in Canada. And you got Pink Whitney by your side to help you enjoy the day, enjoy the month, and get ready for summer where our drink flows like wine. Like the what is it from Dumb and Dumber G? Where the Pink Whitney flows like the salmon of Capistrano. Am I making any sense?
No, I think that's spot on.
I think it's not even close to spot on, but what is spot on is Pink Whitney as your favorite drink. Go to your local bar, order it up any which way you like drinking vodka. Go to your liquor store, grab a pack of 12 nips. You can enjoy those anywhere you want. Have a great time drinking it. We thank you for drinking it, and we thank New Amsterdam Vodka for making it all happen. Pink Whitney, take your shot.
Hey, Murls, Chiclets TV this weekend. I'm sorry, Game Notes. Are we doing a little trade deadline special? Is that in the works or what?
Ooh.
Friday?
Yeah, there's some stuff in the works because we're always at Friday at 11 a.m. We all know the deadline is 3 p.m. So we'll get some rumor boys going this week to lead into that, and then we'll see if any of them come true on Friday.
So, Murls, this is exactly why we wanted to have you on. I mean, it was a long intro there, but the Pettersson news drops. Before that, you had the Roy inside and you didn't drop it, so you kept that one in the holster. You dropped the Pettersson one. Your rumor boys is just taking abuse online. What do you have to say for yourself? How do you think the whole thing shook out?
Yeah, so I think I reported on that. It was 2 or 3 months ago, and it wasn't a done deal. He wasn't negotiating. He didn't want to negotiate. It was done. The only thing I think that happened is, number one, they threatened him with that trade to Carolina. You think like,
that could do it.
That could do it right away. And then once the number got over 11 million, it was like, okay, it worked. We got him over 11 million. And I think the most deciding, the biggest factor was our guy Tocchet. I think he completely changed everything there. He saw the way it's going. Other players have changed the way they're playing and acting, and it all changed in the last few months. And I'm happy for him. He got 96 million, and maybe he can give some back to Timra for us.
I think that I would speak for all of us in that we really, really hope throughout this show that somebody else fucks up and we could torture him for it. So in the end, like, I would be like, oh, I hope this doesn't happen so I could torture Murls. But I got to give you a little credit. In the end, you were wrong. But, I mean, there was trade offers for him. So there's some sort of truth to what you said. I mean, obviously, maybe not some sort, but there was a little bit of like, all right, maybe this guy isn't going to return. I think that was your overall explanation or what you were trying to describe when you originally broke this news in quotations.
Correct.
So, Murls, my thought is you mentioned talk, and I think that's a huge element to this. Do you think that you were catching that wind around town from basically potentially where his sentiments were in the summertime? Because I don't think it's any surprise to anyone that there was there were cultural indifferences in the locker room. And I don't think from people who had been there in the past, they were able to kind of mend the relationships and kind of form this core that was united. And I don't think that they were until talk got there and those differences were worked out. And obviously the team is having success. Not everybody on every team is going to be the best of friends. Like sometimes guys are going to butt heads, and maybe it stems from an original misunderstanding and it just kind of got worse and worse from there. And I think things were probably a little bit unorganized before talk in that, the new regime have been in there. Rutherford to be complimented as well. So to think that Pettersson, like, I would have assumed that going into this, I think that he was basically like, well, I'm not forced to sign now. I'm going to see how this all shakes out for this year. And I think that there was a strong possibility at the beginning of the year that it was probably leaning towards he wouldn't have been returning. But at a certain point too, it's like he fucking got what he got in signing bonus. He got a little bit, 100K more than what Nylander got. And you can't be stupid enough to turn that type of money down. And let's be real here. In 3 or 4 years, if he's not happy with where he's at, and we'll talk about the fan base and where he's at in a second, what's saying you don't have all the control as a player to just be like, hey, I don't want to play here anymore. I want to trade. Like it kind of, I know the injury with Eichel played a factor, but it kind of might have happened with him anyway. Like these players have a lot of the leverage. So get your money in the meantime, play in a place where you can win in the meantime, and then worry about the rest later, given all the other factors involved. That's kind of where I ended up sitting on it.
I love the deal. I think he's incredible. Like he's one of my favorite players to watch. He's creative, smart, his shot's amazing. And in 4 years, like who knows what the cap's going to be at. This could be a hell of a deal, right? I think it already is, just to have him sign and everything.
Heck of a deal.
But the best part about the deal, and Elliotte goes into this a little bit, is, man, they were 1-5 in their last 6 games until they won Sunday night. Yeah. Like they were trash. They were fighting the demons. All of the noise from the outside, which I think any player would say, and coaches and GMs, like once the noise starts coming in on the outside about contracts and trades, it's kind of a disaster. Like guys try and maybe won't admit, guys try not to think about it and maybe won't admit it, but it affects you. And like all of a sudden they're struggling. They hadn't really done that all season. And boom, this news drops and it's just this weight's lifted off the entire team. It's not just him. It's not just Alvin and Rutherford. It's just everyone's like, oh, No more questions about this. No more is this being the side story. Now we can hopefully get back. And they win on Sunday. I mean, they kind of just squeaked by the Ducks, but still, they're all right. Let's see if we can get going again.
And from a management and organization perspective, you're thinking, I'd rather in the end this be an overpay if it is. Not saying it will be. I think it's a great contract. Rather than the latter of like trading him and like it's just a fucking shit show and bring the whole morale down. And I don't blame the organization though for reaching out and trying to find a return, because if you eventually, and as Elliotte get to, don't like, as far as the money's concerned, if you don't end up wanting to take it, it's just like whatever. I guess we're getting long-winded about it. I'll pass it back over to Murls.
I think Nylander got like $20 more million in bonuses though.
But still crazy for him to get the bonus money that he got being in Vancouver and outside of a Toronto market.
Yeah.
So all things considered, I know I got long-winded there and a little bit sidetracked, but Murls, I think that this was a lot closer to what you're saying than it wasn't.
Yeah, I was wrong. It was tough to see. I wanted to be right, but I'm happy he's happy. I'm happy for the Canucks. I don't think it's the end of the story, like you guys are saying. We'll see in 3 or 4 years if he's still there. But it's just the perfect storm. Things have happened. Boom, boom, boom. And he had to re-sign. And, I'm rooting for them. I had them making the playoffs this year, so I'll be rooting for the Canucks.
You just won't find a top-tier Canadian player anymore, though, take any type of hometown discount. Like you just said, based on the distraction and the media surrounding you all the time and everything being scrutinized, why would you take a cent less than what you can get? And that's why I don't think that the cap situation is going to change with the state tax thing. And that's why I think Canadian teams will always be at a disadvantage, because they have to pay their stars every goddamn cent of how annoying that is. He had to essentially rush his contract situation because it was becoming a distraction. Like, that's fucking crazy.
It's almost going to come back to how Edmonton locked up Leon to one of the best deals in the league right now, because they signed him and they overpaid him at the time. And now you're like, oh my gosh, guy makes $8 million. Like, that's what you got to do. It's like one of those deals that Jersey's kind of handed out. Like, oh, that doesn't sound like they're worth it now. And then they grow into it and you're in Canada and you're like, this guy's not really crushing us cap wise. But yeah, it's awesome for Vancouver though. It really is, because you didn't want to see this season go by the wayside because of like Pettersson and his contract, and now they can be like, all right, we got our group. Maybe even they add a little bit more. There is a sense of Lindholm's it's been a little slow for him to get going there though. They got to figure out get him going somehow.
Yeah, we haven't actually given the particulars for those people listening. Elias Pettersson signed an 8-year, $92.8 million extension, comes out to $11.6 million a year. Deal starts next year, runs through 2032. No trade protection the first year, but he has a no-move clause for the last 7 years of the deal. $47 million of it is in bonuses, $45.8 million in salary. It's the fourth largest contract in NHL for total dollars after Crosby, McKinnon, and McDavid right now. And Pettersson has 398 points in 387 games, and he's got 18 points in 17 playoff games, and he'll be 34 when the deal expires. I mean, this is a hell of a deal for Vancouver, like you said. But wait, I love watching this guy play too. And Biz, I got on good authority that the team actually bonded over Hayton Pasha and his dopey fucking takes. That's how they ended up getting along after all that shit.
Nobody's had a worse season.
Oh, by the way, JT
I don't even.
Miller.
Hey, bleep out his name. No more mention of him. Yep. It's over. Bleep it out.
JT Miller, first player in Canucks history to record 3 seasons with 30-plus goals and 50-plus assists. So suck on that. Boop.
That's shocking to me.
I love it.
None of the Sedins didn't do that.
That's wild. Yeah, that was a wild stat.
One of them had 2, but not 3. So Saturday night, Biz, I think you might have been the first guy to call that Revo and what's his name, Rempe, were going to be going head-to-head Saturday night. And it took a little while for it to come, but it did come. You know what I'm talking about, Biz. No.
I was just gonna say, like, usually when we do our like a roundup calls on this, like we were talking about it, like how Rempe has revived the heavyweight division, and then like I think like I even said G or G might have said, hey, when do they play Toronto? And then we were thinking of obviously Montreal, like when's Toronto playing Montreal next? So all of a sudden, like I think that the percentage of fighting was supposed to be way down. But since he's been called up, the percentage of fighting in the NHL has like astronomically went up. So they might actually tie last year's total now that it's gotten this late charge. But yeah, it's the energy, like I talked to people who went to the game and they said the energy going into it just felt different, knowing that you're going to have these two heavyweights in the NHL going at it. Well, at least in the East, a huge game. Both teams are fucking on a heater right now. And the fact that you're going to get this 21-year-old kid who, it's like the Jeremy Lin situation. Everybody's fucking talking about it. Anytime his name is mentioned online, the clicks and the views are fucking going through the roof. He's fought 4 times in his first 7 games. And the fact that probably the heavyweight champ, in my opinion, in the league right now, Revo, is Toronto, and it's there. It's just like going into it, it was fucking hype. And Revo challenged him off the start. Rempe's like, no, turning it down. And then, buddy, people keep saying like, oh, this Rempe kid, like, oh, big deal. He plays 3-4 minutes. He's useless. Buddy, the way that this 6'7" kid can move and how fast he can skate, I'm telling you, he can make an impact in a playoff series if he's able to get in on the forecheck and fucking hit a defenseman like he hit one of the most solid D-men in the league, the Russian bear, Lyubushkin. So, and then as a response, after saying no all game, Rempe gets sent out there, and it was funny how he looked back to the bench and Laviolette gave him the nod, kind of be like, all right, kid. And fucking Rempe answered the bell. Like, to me, that was the perfect hockey game. Although it would have been cool to see it end in overtime, but shootouts kind of ruined it for me. But still, 4-3, there was a fucking big hits, fights, like, it had it all. And it was a fucking unbelievable Saturday game in the mecca of the hockey universe. And this 21-year-old kid continues to impress. And I thought he handled himself unbelievable in that scrap. A few times I got a little nervous. And the reason I say Revo's the heavyweight champ is just the way he was able to fucking get away from those jabs and also generate power. And he connected with a few of those bombs. If you want to call it a draw, guys, call it a draw. But I would say advantage Revo. And until you're dethroned, I still think you're the heavyweight champ. So that's kind of my breakdown of everything Saturday. I thought it was a fucking unreal hockey game.
I loved it. Go ahead, all right.
No, I want to ask you, people being dramatic about him, oh, he's fighting too much, they got to lay off the kid, or is the kid just doing what he wants to do? I mean, like we always say on the show, nobody doesn't have to fight unless they don't want to. Are people just being like fucking, think of the children, like being over dramatic or what? What's your take on that?
Let me address a couple things. First, the fight.
Great question, though, Ari. I liked it.
I like it. It's been a discussion kind of around the league. First off, in terms of the fight, he did a way better job protecting himself. I think that he was like, all right, I can't really do what I did with Olivier, who beat his head in, right? But Olivier's tough as shit, but he was just, there was no defense. All right, I can't do that anymore with some of these guys. So he did an awesome job. Revo was incredible. He ducked a couple and then came over the top. And yeah, in the end, Revo, I think, got the W, but it wasn't a knockout. It wasn't anything like incredible or insane. But you know what? He probably ended up getting the win. But Rempe did amazing. And what I took away from it was how Revo mentioned today. He didn't fall asleep till 6:30 in the morning after the game. He was so fired up and jacked up. But then his next quote was, that kid's going to be a menace in this league. For Ryan Reaves to throw out that type of talk and compliment, like, that's a pretty big deal for a guy who's fought everyone, who's been able to be in the league a long time, doing a tough job. He's given credit where credit's due. Like, that kid is so long, and like Biz said, he's such a good skater that he's going to be a lot to handle for a long time. Now, I'll go back to the hit that caused that fight. That is a penalty. Like, I'm sorry. He jumped. I actually freeze framed it as he's making contact.
You're a freeze framer?
Well, I wanted to see if he was in the air after the hit or prior.
All right.
Both his feet are in the air as he's hitting the guy. He's 7'3", probably not necessary to be in the air when you're hitting that guy.
I think you're good. You're good on the size.
What?
No, I agree with you. He's good on the size.
Yeah, I mean, why is he jumping? Now, hell of a job to have the explosion and being able to get to Lyubushkin that quick. And I think in the end, though, that's probably a boarding or a charge. Okay? Now, man, if you're on the Rangers, you love that. Who cares? We'll kill that one off. That's kind of what the guys say in the room. Hey, a penalty like that, we'll kill that one off, boys. You knocked out their brand new defenseman, and you set the tone. We're down a goal, right? So that was a penalty in my mind, but still, that's exactly what Laviolette wants from him. That's exactly what he'll be able to do in the playoffs, as Biz maybe mentioned. The fighting aspect, okay? Shut the fuck up, everyone, okay? This guy is choosing to do this. He's an adult. He's in the NHL. Okay, I want to fight. People saying like he shouldn't be fighting. The guy is going out willingly and totally knowing the circumstances and what could happen and fighting people. When did this turn into like babysitting hour on the CBC? It's like, what the hell is going on? The guy wants to fight. He can fight. I don't even understand what we're talking about. It's like, that'd be like, this pitcher should stop throwing fastballs. He might hurt his elbow, or curveballs. He might hurt his elbow. Like, buddy, shut up. This is pro sports, the highest level of pro sports. And this kid, as Biz said last week, doesn't want to go back to sobby subland in the minors. He's in the NHL. If he wants to fight every game the rest of his career, who is anyone out there, fan, media personality, I guess besides his coach, who could be like, stop fighting, nobody should be able to in any way tell this kid what he should and shouldn't be doing. It's his decision. He wants to be in the NHL, and this is how he's making a name for himself. So those people need to shut up.
And he's getting that, let's say 5 minutes of ice per game. You only have that 5 minutes to make an impact. That's it. That's all you get. So that's why you see him. And I guess I didn't like to call it a charge because he was the F1 forechecker, and the minute Lyubushkin kind of looks north, he has the right to skate towards his check at full speed. And like the problem I had was the fact that he did jump. And what I think he's been doing a good job of so far is towing the line. But the next one where he's coming out of the air a little bit, now that he's had the Bastion one and now he's had this one where he hasn't been suspended, I don't want to say there's a target on his back, but it's like, hey, you got to fucking toe that line, because the minute you come off your feet again next time and the result is probably the same, you're probably looking at getting games. But like
I watched it, Biz. I actually slowed back the actual, like before the hit too, before I screenshot guy. He does a crossover and then he goes 3 hard strides. So maybe not a charge, but a board. It was a 2-minute penalty is all I'm saying.
So that's another one that I question is when people say a board, it's like Lyubushkin got the puck, he turned up ice and he had time to get off the wall. Like, it's like you're telling me in the midst of going to your check, it's Rempe's responsibility to make sure how far his distance is across from the board, especially when he's facing north. The only reason Lyubushkin ended up eating the wall is because as the hit came, he kind of he ate the dasher, right?
That's a big human to be coming at you that quick. You're just like, where do I go?
And that's why I view him as so valuable is his skating and how he's able to close so quick. So he's a monster out there. So overall, I just like the fact that he also answered the bell with Revo after that. That was the old school element where he didn't hide behind the referees. He didn't hide behind not answering the bell. He fucking fought the other team's tough guy. And before he did it from a non-organic, useless standpoint, he became a factor in the game to the point where Revo had to go out and address that. So
my final two things. He's in the box, dude, right? So Revo, the Leafs are up a goal. Now, Revo's like, all right, well, this kid just injured one of our defensemen. I'm going to fight him. But what happens? The Rangers end up tying it up. Well, Rempe's in the box, and the video was great. Rempe stands up in the box. He's so fired up. So as the Rangers, they're looking at it like, dude, not only did you go out there and answer the bell, we ended up tying it up. Trocheck scored a beauty. I think Lafreniere had 3 points right after I pumped his tire last week.
Yeah.
My second thing, in terms of like, maybe fans right now are listening. Rangers fans probably love this, but other fans are like, why are you talking about this guy so much? Well, here's why. In the playoffs of the lockout season, Murls and I were on Wilkes-Barre, and Chris Neal, while not being the size of Rempe, was an absolute machine. He was a cigarette machine on the ice, murdering people. He injured 3 players on the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, knocked them out for what would have been the playoffs, dude. And it was a 6-game series. Concussions, separated shoulders. Like, Murls, you remember that?
Yeah, he concussed the one guy, so the other his D partner went to fight him, and he dummied that guy, broke his orbital bone.
Oh.
Those two guys
took out the whole pair.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a chance he can really change a playoff series. I mean, I don't know. But in the end, that's the recap of Saturday night. And then Saturday night finishes off out west with the Pittsburgh Penguins blowing a game to Calgary Flames on Mika Kiprasov night. The Penguins, guys, They're dead. And we got to shout out Grinelli. Grinelli in the August podcast said the Penguins aren't doing shit. So he was right about them.
It's like sad. The first time in back-to-back years, Crosby won't make playoffs. They wasted, the players on the team wasted the greatest performance we've ever seen in the history of the NHL by a 36-year-old player.
Is that a fact?
I think from a stat standpoint, yeah. And like what he's doing, and they might have like factored in all the other fucking analytics stuff or whatever, but I think even from a point standpoint, I mean, buddy, he's been a force. Like if it wasn't for these other guys going freak mode, he could probably be a consideration for MVP for what he's done for the Penguins. And it's and then the Edmonton game was just that was the true icing on the cake. It was just a shellacking out west, and an embarrassment.
I think in the end, I mean, it's hindsight's 2020. It's so easy to sit here and say this now, but might have been time to move on from Gino. He's kind of a shell of himself now, and then the Carlson deal, man. Like, and Grinelli said it. Like, they didn't need that contract. They didn't need that player. No. They could have added so many different pieces, and it's just been a disaster.
I like the fact that Dubas, though, went out and took that swing to try to bring in another piece of the core. But yeah, like you said, it's oh man. And then like my understanding was the reason that they brought Tanger and Gino back with Sid was because they wanted to make sure they kept the fan base coming. They wanted people in the building. They didn't want it to kind of have too much of the dark days, especially at the fact that a new person was buying the team. But how, in keeping this core, let's say with Carlson and those three guys, how quick do you think you can rebuild to a team that's like relevant? Like
with not many prospects and draft picks.
So what? So Sid is good at the level he's at now for another 2 years, 3 years, but it goes to waste on what? That's why it's like I understand loyalty to the Penguin crest, but fuck, man, it'd be sick to see him go collab with Nate out in Colorado. I know I'm beating this drum, but
if this ends up happening, this will be your what is the word?
My Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa. But it wasn't even me. It was Darren Drager who started it originally, and I'm like, fuck. I'm like, yeah. If they get bad enough, we're like, why would you let that type of talent rot?
It would be Sid deciding. It's just he's a loyal guy.
Anyway,
the Fenway Sports Group buying the Penguins when they did is like buying a house like in New Orleans right before Hurricane Katrina. It's a disaster.
No, I mean it's a hell of an analogy.
And I don't mean, and obviously that was horrible. I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but
no, it was a great.
Talk about the timing of buying them.
Yeah, if they wanted to keep Malkin and Letang, then they had to take lesser deals. They couldn't take their market like that 7 million. They had to be like Bergeron, take $1 million each. If you want to stay and be a Penguin,
I know,
you made enough money.
The Louis Vuitton's not cheap, man. It's not cheap.
If you don't have enough money after everything they've earned, then there's a bigger problem.
All right.
Yeah, Sid, 32 goals, 31 assists in just 59 games. And I'll tell you, Biz, the goaltending, not the issue with this team this year. Team save percentage, 910, 278 goals against, 7 shutouts, leads the league. Only 6 teams have a better save percentage. Only 7 have fewer goals allowed per game. So for all the knocks the goaltending has taken over the years, there definitely hasn't been the issue with Pittsburgh this year. Just everything in front of them.
I think that they definitely should have won the series against New York 2 years ago. They should have beat them if they would have had a healthy goalie. I think that if they had a chance at maybe winning another cup, I think that Hextall fucked it up by some tough decisions that kind of just trickle you down a place where you're very vulnerable. And so I can't put the entire onus, like Dubas doesn't deserve any flack, maybe other than the Carlson move. But that was also probably done out of desperation because of the other ones before it. I'm not a Dubas, what do you call it? Like a Dubas excuser?
Hater.
A what?
A hater?
No, but the other word.
I think you made him your enemy at one point.
Yeah, I'm not a Dubas apologist.
Quickly, before the next topic, I will say this. When the issue with, Matthew Joseph on Ottawa punching, or the whole mishap with Dylan Larkin earlier this season, we learned pretty quickly that the Detroit Red Wings fan base is rabid, to say the least. I mean, these people are crazy, and I love it. as I've said many times, Detroit was my team. Steve Yzerman, my favorite player. I switched to a defenseman, Nick Lidstrom, the best jerseys, everything about it. I've gone on and on. When we didn't discuss the Detroit Red Wings last week, I got more hate messages than I've ever received in my life. So Detroit fans, I apologize, because after that run that they'd been on, and unfortunately, they then go out and they lose to the Islanders in a winnable game, and then they get the absolute doors blown off them by the Florida Panthers. I had somebody tell me, a scout for a Western Conference team, he told me that the GM of his team, when they were flying down to Florida, they were just on the phone catching up, and he's like, all right, I got to go, or getting on the flight to Florida. We're going to play the best team in the NHL. So the Florida Panthers, understandably, like Detroit, you're not there yet. It was a big test game. It was an awesome game, too. These, since football's ended, these Sunday 3 o'clock games that ABC has are so good. And the game started off, it was playoff hockey, man. It was 0-0 in the first. Detroit got a goal called back. But in the end, Florida they just out-muscled them. They annoyed
there's a chance they meet first round, too. So it was kind of like a message being sent.
How about Kachuk's masterclass? Sherratt took 3 minor penalties against him. Just nonstop in his face. Cousins was being Cousins. And like the Panthers are just on a different level. But Detroit, good for you guys. I mean, right now, I don't know what the odds are. It looks like Detroit should get into the playoffs. I really hope this doesn't mush them. Guys, you could call me a mush. I don't want to be mushing right now. I love this team. Raymond has popped off this season. That's a guy who's going to keep getting better and better. A Swede, smart as shit. Murls saw him back when he played in the Swedish Elite League. He's got everything in his game, and he's getting better. What sucks is not only do they have these back-to-back losses at home, Larkin's out 2 weeks, boys.
No.
Larkin's got a 2-week injury, lower body injury, which is just a kick in the dick as they've lost 2 in a row. He's been fantastic. Biz, you remember a couple, or last year when we were like talking about his deal and what he wanted, and maybe he wasn't necessarily deserving of what he was asking for? I take all that back.
He's blown past what he's being paid. Based on his production and finally getting DeBrincat, like a respectable 40-goal scoring winger, right? So he's proved that he's worth more than what he got. And at the time, I said I thought that he was a second-line center on a Stanley Cup winning team. Well, the way that I think that they're going to be built and with the fair contracts that they have, I think that everybody's going to be paid accordingly, and he's actually slotted perfectly. We were talking about this before we hit the play button too. Given with the fact that you have Stevie Y as a general manager, I think that they're going to be able to lock up Raymond and Seider cheaper than what people expect. Now, what that number we're talking about is, like, I wouldn't be shocked if Yzerman could get Moritz Seider down to in the 7.5 range, right? Because
I don't think his agent would let him take 8 years at that. I think that would be a mistake.
Sure.
Personally.
Then I view Stevie Yzerman being the type of guy to say, hey, here's a bridge deal. Like, I can't just kind of hand over you this type of money. Like, Larkin had to go fucking earn it. Like, what type of precedent are you saying? And especially at the fact that when Seider stepped in there, they were slim pickings. So he was kind of doing everything. And he had this unbelievable rookie season. Like, we can't take that away from him. Last year, it felt like maybe it was a bit overwhelming in your sophomore year, handling all those responsibilities. He doesn't exactly have to be that number one offensive option on the back end now. I feel like Gostisbehere takes a lot of that pressure off him, right? So what exactly are you paying for? Are you going to pay some guy that is normally going to get paid for doing absolutely everything? And another thing I said before we hopped on, he comes off as like a Petro to me. His high-end offense isn't hot like that, like the highest of ends, but he's like a number 2 guy, but yet he's a bitch to play against, and he defends well, and he can fucking penalty kill, and he brings all the other intangibles.
I think Petro's better offensively than you're saying. I think Petro's a true number 1.
I know,
D-man.
Okay, but do you not think that they have Shea Theodore to kind of alleviate that stress from him there?
No, I agree. And Theodore maybe runs that power play a little bit better, but okay.
So it's just like, I view it as a true number 1 where you're on an island where you have really no choice and you have to do all those things. And I would view Makar as a true, he's A1 in every single position, and he's making 9.5. So are you Makar level? No. I think that with who Stevie Yzerman is and the way that he's trying to establish the culture, I think I view it more from like a little bit more of a Boston shape. And I wouldn't be shocked if those two guys, he gets them at a reasonable number. And this is just kind of a double barrel going to the whole team in general. I think of any of the young teams that were looking to make that leap into making playoffs, Stevie Y did the best job of going out there and getting guys and putting respectable veterans in positions and helping round out the young guys' games, but also holding their own, like the Perrons, like, you know, Comfer, like that. Cop, like not each of these guys. I feel like Fabry's a game or two, but you know, he doesn't command a lot of them. So all these guys are being fairly compensated, yet they all bring something to their game. And the biggest takeaway too is they weren't a pushover against Florida. They fought back when
they did.
When two guys jumped on Patrick Kane, there was 3 Red Wings come over to protect Kaner. They've established a good culture, and that's probably my biggest takeaway from this bubble team, who's probably surprised a lot of people. And to talk of Patrick Kane, guys, like this guy, like I think a lot of people wrote him off based on the surgery that he had, and he had the same doctor as Andy Murray, the other player that came back from this and had success, and he's exceeded everybody's expectations. So just overall, this season will be a success regardless if they do anything at the deadline of what their next wave of core can take away from everything they've experienced this year. What A+, and it's awesome to see.
And I'm glad you mentioned the pushback, because if you remember last year, they were in the hunt and they played Ottawa back-to-back and took 2 of the biggest beatings of all time. And then Yzerman, I don't think publicly said it, but it came out like, why would I add anything to this team after those 2 games I just saw? And then this year, Florida got them 4-0. Florida's incredible. I was dead wrong on them. I picked them to miss the playoffs. But don't worry about that. You have a culture now. You got a team sticking up for one another. It's completely opposite of last year, and it's been a lot of fun to watch this team and watch that barn go nuts. They're scoring at will. They're one of the highest scoring teams in the league, which I think Newsy said he was almost a little bit surprised about. So Detroit fans, lay off me. I apologized. That was our takes in terms of how special a year that's been. Now, hopefully, finish this job off, get Larkin back, get into the playoffs. You never know what can happen. But congrats to the Red Wings fans on finally having a little success. It's been a tough, 7-8 years since they've been in the mix. Murls, you got anything on them? And they got that prospect in Sweden, the superstar D-man.
All right, you brought him up last podcast, Alex Lyon, too. But Murls, go ahead, whoever wants to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the biggest mush. I had them last year making the playoffs. Was my big bet of the whole season, and I mushed that. But don't feel bad, Whit, about Florida. The only guy that had him in our whole entire crew making the playoffs was the guy's name we can't speak of. So... none of us, nobody had them. So once again,
did we all pick them
the top team in the
we
league.
disrespected the culture that they had built last year, and we thought the pieces they lost, and with the injuries coming in, they have just. That's a tough. That's so we're all as bad as me last year saying Boston wasn't going to make the playoffs.
Well, Boston broke the record for most points of all time, so we're not quite there yet, but we're close. And actually, us being that dumb and that stupid, it leads me into my next point. Okay. Rumor boys, we're down. We're down bad. What I don't understand is, and I'm speaking to you fans out there, I'm speaking to you fans who get so pissed off when we talk about different things and rumor boy stuff, which I think it's pretty open to most people with a full brain that we're like joking around. We're throwing things to the wall. We're just whatever. Why do fans, all you guys listening, or girls, why do you get so upset when a rumor's out there about one of your players, favorite player, not favorite player, doesn't matter? I don't understand as a former player why it rattles you that much, because if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And us saying something would never make anything happen. So I don't get the anger. Like, I sent out this tweet about Brady Tkachuk, and these Senators fans are losing it. I didn't make it up. Somebody told it to me, and they're all coming at me. Oh, RA probably texted you, and you're blanking out his name. No, a guy who's told me legitimate things, 3 or 4 things that have come true, told me that. So I tweeted it out, and Senators fans want me dead. I don't understand. Like, why does it make you that mad if a rumor's out there? If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm speaking to you guys, and you can let me know why it makes you so upset and it pisses you off so much, but it's a tweet. Who cares?
And I also and in a player's instance, like I think you actually got Petey paid an extra $10 million, Murl, with your rumor,
Oh, absolutely.
which wasn't kind of a rumor. So if anything, it's benefiting the players, and you guys should be happy about that because we're a players podcast, right, Whit?
Yes. I just find it so funny how mad people get. I'm going to do it more because it makes you so mad. If anything, it's like,
Everyone's
hey, if
fucking
you let
mad
somebody
online.
know you hate your nickname, that nickname ain't going away. If you're letting me know how much you hate me because I'm saying certain different rumors I might be hearing, then I'm going to do more of it.
RA, you mentioned him last podcast, Alex Lyon. What a run he's been on. Now he's
Oh, my
dragging
God.
2 teams back-to-back years into the playoffs. Sid could have used them.
Unbelievable. They brought him in last summer, a 2-year, $1.8 million deal, making less than $1 million a year. Stevie Y getting banged for his buck. He started 29 out of 60 games so far, 18-9-2, 274 goals against, 912 save percentage, 2 shutouts. It's just crazy that this guy, I mean, I don't think calling a guy a journeyman is a disrespectful term, but I mean, that's what he's been really for his career. What he did last year in Florida, what he's been doing in Detroit. And we've seen it around the league too, Biz, what Lindgren's been doing in Washington. I'm brain farting,
Oh, you're
All
okay,
right.
buddy. That's
They
2 good
brought
examples.
All right. They had Husso and Reimer. Like, Detroit brought him in to be the starter in Grand Rapids.
Exactly.
That was
exactly.
probably the idea on this, and he saved their season.
And the other thing I was thinking of, Marty Jones up in Toronto. He's a guy who's bounced around. He really saved Samsonov's bacon earlier. And by the way, Toronto fucking waived him. Anybody in the league could have had him for, $3.5 million. And nobody
I saw
grabbed
that
him,
on the
man.
outline, RA, which is a great point because of what he's done since. He's unreal right now. But at 3.6 or whatever his deal is with what he'd been doing, he had like the yips. I also understand why nobody's grabbing him at that time,
Yeah, but I think it's given his track record, and I don't think he's been a disaster during his career. I mean, I'm really shocked that the team didn't grab him for that fucking price, man. $3.5 million, especially with all the goaltending issues we've seen with a lot of teams this year. I'm shocked, but hey, it worked out for Toronto in the long run. But just real quick with Detroit, 11 forwards have at least 10 goals on that team right now. They could have as much as $13.7 million in cap space to make some deadline moves. They got a full complement of draft picks and very, very deep prospect pool. So I wouldn't be surprised if Stevie Y dips his toes into that end of the pool and tries to go for it a little bit this year.
And that Michael Rasmussen, he just signed a 4-year extension. I think he's making 3.2 a year. So a lot of fair deals and guys contributing, and it's great to see. Man, Motown in the mix.
They're going to sing a little Motown for us. We mentioned the trade deadline in the introduction. It is this Friday. Had a couple deals so far. Chris Tanev sweepstakes. He ended up in Dallas. Dallas, it was a 3-way trade. Dallas got Tanev and the rights to UMass goalie Cole Brady. Calgary got defensive prospect Artem Grushnikov, a second rounder in 24 and a conditional third in 26, also retaining half of Tanev's salary. New Jersey are going to get half of Tanev's salary, $1.125 million. And Dallas is fourth in 26 for their trouble. He might not play until Tuesday. I guess he has some visa issues going on. He's going to wear number 3, he said, which is kind of half of 8 because he used to wear 8, which is kind of funny for a hockey player. But how big of a pickup is this for the Stars, Whit?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. And I saw this everywhere. So it's not my point, but I totally agree with it. When you thought of Tanev and all the different teams he could go, yeah, there was teams that definitely could have used him, but didn't it seem like he just fit in perfectly with Dallas? Like it was just like a Dallas star. Like it makes total sense that he's there. And now, man, you look at their D, man, that they have everything on their back end. Like 1 to 6, probably as deep as anyone else, I would say. And you got like Heskinen's your superstar. He's your guy. He's your Makar, right? He's your number one dude that can do it all and play 30 minutes and just be all over the ice. And then you got Tanev. He's a PK guy. He's shutting people down. He's blocking shots. Ryan Suter's a veteran. You remember him against Minnesota last year. He was a beast, and that series was a war. And then all of a sudden this year, Harley, right?
Yeah,
is that his name?
Awesome. Thomas
Holy
Harley.
shit,
Yeah.
he's got does he have 15 goals? 14 goals?
14 goals, yeah.
I mean, so you're and then Lindell's been there forever, and that's another guy who can throw in some offense while also being an awesome defenseman. Ottinger, and we don't talk about Dallas enough. It's one of those things where like I don't really hear from many Dallas fans online, and I know I'm just talking about online, and there's plenty of fans.
Well, they got the glass banger. That's the one you hear
Jesus, I
from.
forgot
Oh,
about it.
yeah.
Maybe we've gone after him so hard after the playoffs last year that they've all shut us out and they're all fans of the glass banger. But this team is going to be right there. They're probably, I think that they're right now the favorites to come out of that division and be in the Western Conference Final. They were able to do it last year and couldn't muster up much against Vegas, but man, this team has every single thing you need. They have forwards, they have defense, they have a great goalie, and now all of a sudden, they got Stankhoven. Have you seen this fucking kid? Did you see this kid's first 4 games, Biz?
Yeah.
Holy shit. All right, let me tell you something. 5'8", so he's small, and that's probably why he didn't go in the first round. Like I tweeted out, kids, it doesn't matter where you get drafted. Do you think for 1 second, after maybe being disappointed that he wasn't a first-round pick, do you think this kid didn't look at that as a fire and look at that as a slap in the face and just say, wait till people see what I can do in pro hockey? Because it's taken him about 3 minutes this year to figure out the NHL and how to score and how to create plays. He went into the AHL and dominated all over the place. I read a stat that with primary points for a player under 21, he's the most per 60 minutes in the history of the AHL. Like, dominating games.
Right.
And then the best part was somebody sent me a clip of against Winnipeg. I think it was Winnipeg the other night. Gets back on the back check like quick as hell, lifts the stick of a player, turns it over, comes back over the blue line, makes a sick little play, ends up going in the net, banging home the rebound. Like, this is a dog, and you're adding this kid. Now, people were wondering, like, they sent him back down. That's all on paper. That's all just moves to just figure out the cap as they figure out, like, towards the deadline how they're going to make everything move. Come game 1 of the playoffs, this kid's in the lineup.
Yeah.
You got Robertson, you got Hintz, you got Pavelski, Sagan's having a good year. Ben's the captain and the leader.
They have 2 first lines based on their scoring.
Dude, they're unbelievable.
With the Duchesne pickup, he's making nothing on a Bargoon contract.
So, like, I talk often about when the Wings are good, the league's better. When the Flyers are good, the league's better. You want the Canadians to be good. Yeah, like the original 6 teams for money in this league, you want those teams to be good. The Flyers aren't original 6, but they're a big-time franchise. So we don't talk about the Stars enough. But partly it's just because it is a quiet team. Like, they just go about their business. There's not a lot of stories coming out of there. They're just consistently really good. So we probably should have been speaking more about that team and their depth and like their chance to really win it all this year. But it's almost wait to the playoffs and watch what these guys do because they have everything. Now that they got Tanev, like, I don't even know if they need to go out and do anything.
I mean, it goes back to the draft and developing too. I mean, they got Ottinger, Heiskanen, and Robertson all in one draft, and then you see what they've gotten with Wyatt Johnston, and then now you see what they got with this guy. It's just like,
and this other kid, Maverick Bork in the minors, who's sick.
Harley. Like, there ain't many teams pulling this many diamonds out of the rough outside of like a top 3 pick that are going to be like, you know, doing what fucking Robertson's doing. So it's just amazing. I don't know who their like scouting department is or who's making these decisions, but holy fuck, get them a raise.
Murls, who was telling you about Wyatt Johnson?
Monty told me about him. I think he knew about him before when he was with Dallas. He knew all about him. He said this kid's going to be a Bergeron type player. I brought it up on here before. I talked about him.
They didn't even get a good chance to scout him because I think his draft year he played like 16 games in junior because it was all the COVID lockdowns. So they had the book out on him and they took a flyer on a guy who played 17 games and boom, lottery. Scratch offs. Cash for life.
And how about Mason Marchment? Yeah. How about Mason Marchment?
He's a piece of shit to play against.
Toronto had him. Florida had him. And look at did we just name 10 forwards that are just game breakers? Like, let's go through Sagan, Pavelski, Robertson, Hintz, Wyatt Johnson, Stankhoven now, Marchment, Duchesne. Like, this is ridiculous. And then we already talked about the D. So what were we going to say, Murray? I apologize.
Yeah, when they like that on paper, they don't even like send them to Austin, right? He just hides in the hotel room when he's sent down on paper.
I meant to ask Elliotte that. I don't know if you technically have to go.
I think you have to get a flight and they have to show it. I remember hearing guys would have to fly across the country, touchdown. That's what sucked about having the AHL team all the way across country rather than maybe having it in the same state. But
imagine being in Dallas and they're like, hey, we sent you down. He's like, oh, shucks, I got to go to Austin and stare at 4,000 rockets and eat great food.
Well, that's the thing. That's the luxury. You might actually want to get the send down. Yeah, well, I think that's a nice little double wrister for the Dallas Stars, who we don't get a chance to talk about enough.
But a great move by Jim Nill.
One more on Dallas Stars. Wait, you're so high on them to win the division. They're tied in points right now with the Jets, but the Jets have 3 games in hand. But if you go over DraftKings Sportsbook, you can get Dallas plus 220 to win the division.
Love it. Love it. We mentioned already Toronto got Lyubushkin in a deal last week. Wow, one other deal. The Devils picked up Curtis McDermott from Colorado for the rights to Russian forward Zakhar Bardakov in a 7th and 24. Murls, this move too late or way too late to get this guy now? I mean, come on.
I was wondering if he played goalie or not, but I get what they're trying to do is get a big guy that can maybe block some shots because their goaltending's terrible. I just don't understand that move at all. It didn't take care of what the problem is.
Or cave their face in if they run Bastion the way that Rempe ran Bastion. I think legit he probably picked up the phone like the day after that game and started negotiating that deal. No?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
If you're gonna have a team with as soft and as skilled as the New Jersey Devils, you better have a fucking Curtis McDermott. And you might even want to put him on Jack's line for a few fucking shifts. I agree, RA. It's too late, but it's a great move, and you need, especially the way the East is forming out. Like, I'm gonna be honest, guys. Like, holy fuck, this Devils team. That was a pathetic. Blame injuries all you want, buddy, but they don't fucking go to the inside. They don't generate nothing in the middle. They were the fucking high-flying offense last year that was, beating you off the rush and everything was clicking and ready to go. And, hey, commend them for having a great first-round series against another team who was playing a little bit run and gun. But Jesus Christ, man, this is fucking pathetic. And it ain't just goaltending. It's the breakdown after breakdown after break. Gee, the one against LA the other night, like all 5 guys are in the offensive zone with their thumbs up their ass, and then Deneau's just like at the far blue being like, "What's up?" Breakaway in the back of your net.
The season in a nutshell is they pulled the goalie down 4-1 and didn't even put out an extra man.
Yeah,
Did you see that? Jack Hughes has the puck and he's like, "What the hell?" And then they go offside. And the camera goes to Jack Hughes and he's just like this. It's
motherfucker.
Like Lindy Ruff. Like you just never saw this year coming for them. But I guess looking up and down the roster before, you should have seen it soft. They got no goalie. I saw who sent on our group chat their goalie stats side by side. It's the worst 2 goalie stats I've ever seen. They're both at like 890 with like a 3.8.
Brutal. There's 3 of them. Yeah, they had. I saw that during the one game. All 3 of them went up there. They're all brutal.
Should have had me out there. For Christ's sake.
I mean, the man who shall not be named, as I mentioned, I will be videotaping getting that tattoo.
My mood just changed when we started talking about the team because of him.
All right. Well, in that case, Biz, maybe we should send it over to our friend Elliotte Friedman right about now. We had an awesome conversation about the trade deadline, a whole bunch of other shit. So let's send it over to him right about now.
Before we continue, guys, I'm here to talk to you about BetterHelp. A lot of us spend our lives wishing we had more time. And the question is, time for what? If time was unlimited, how would you use it? The best way to squeeze that special thing into your schedule is to know what's important to you and to make it a priority. Therapy can help you find what matters to you so you can do more of it. I've mentioned before on this show, in terms of myself and my own life, talking to someone can make a huge difference, whether it's to get things off your chest that you've wanted to chat with somebody about, you don't feel comfortable talking to one of your friends, whether you're going through a problem that you really don't know how to approach or handle, and you're really not maybe necessarily ready to bring it up to a family member or a friend. Talking to a professional and being able to actually get an opinion that is from a doctor that can really help out you sort through your life. And everyone knows, man, life can be really hard at times. It feels like you could be overwhelmed. It feels like you can have a million things and you can't handle it all. So for me personally, it's made a huge difference. I recommend highly to anyone just not feeling like yourself. If you're down in the dumps, if you don't really know why, it can make the world a difference. And that's why BetterHelp is here to help you. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Learn to make time for what makes you happy with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/Chiclets today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp at HELP.com/Chiclets.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome this guy back to the show. It's at least his third or fourth time on the pod, not sure, but this intrepid reporter for Sportsnet, you see him in Canada all the time. He's on Hockey Night in Canada all the time. And it's trade deadline, everybody's beating down his door. And we have him on the Spittin Chiclets podcast today. Elliotte Friedman, welcome back, buddy. How you been, my man?
I look better than I feel, I think, which is probably very
Welcome to the club.
How is that possible?
It was a long night last night. I was up late writing, and I'm a little wobbly this morning. This could be a really good interview, even better than normal.
Elliotte, do you think we could talk Sportsnet into getting the Thai masseuse to come live in studio? I think you need. Have you ever done the Thai massages? I think it could help.
I have done certain Thai massages, but I'm not sure we've done the same ones. Let's
no,
just go
Elliotte,
with that.
fuck up.
Exactly.
No, everybody keeps teasing me about this. I ain't getting the other side of it. I'm just getting the posterior chain worked on. So I'm just saying from one guy to another and who hasn't been getting a lot of sleep and maybe needs a little like stress reliever, I think the Thai masseuse would help you out.
I appreciate your concern. I have had the walking on the back before. It is fantastic.
It's
Excellent.
unbelievable. All right.
Yes.
Elliotte, I'm wondering, getting into the hockey stuff. Now, the past few years, it's changed where so many of the deals got done prior to the deadline day. And I want to say, around 8 years ago-ish, like deadline day was just a Super Bowl and it was deal after deal. And then now it's changed a little bit where teams want to have guys for a little bit longer and wrap up the deals quicker. But it seems like this year we could be leading to a more action-packed Friday. Is that a possibility in your eyes?
I think so. And one of the keys, Ryan, is that the teams don't have a lot of cap room. Like a lot of the buyers don't have a lot of cap room. So in these cases, if you're not paying someone to be a third-party broker, like, for example, Carolina did for Lyubushkin, then, how are you going to do it unless you wait until the absolute last minute? Now, Whit, I will tell you, some teams have said to me that they're worried this could be a little bit of a dud because if you take a look at some of the teams in the East who want to make moves, like Toronto, like Florida, like Boston, who was the other one people mentioned? Oh, Tampa Bay. They don't have a lot to trade. Tampa Bay in particular, Noah Hannafin, and I know you guys love the Boston guys. He apparently feels he's a little bit too pasty and wants that Tampa tan. But the Lightning don't have a lot that they can trade. Like if that was an easy deal to make, I think it would be done already. So I think that's one of the issues facing some of the Eastern Conference powerhouses in particular. They don't have a lot to move. So what they do have to give up might be a little more costly.
Have you heard any rumors? And we've talked about this. Biz was the first one on it last year. And he's kind of gone and convinced me this year about the Bruins maybe parting ways with Ullmark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think that's impossible, Whit. I don't.
Because like you said, they don't have a lot to give up.
Well, that's the thing. Like the Bruins don't have a lot of draft capital, but they have players. And, like you guys know the Bruins. They're like there's some teams. It's funny. I was actually having this conversation this morning. People talk to me about teams that are unafraid to make hard decisions. And I talk about teams like Florida, not afraid to make hard decisions. Tampa, not afraid to make hard decisions. Vegas, not afraid to make hard decisions. Boston, not afraid to make hard decisions. And you know what a Canadian executive told me this morning? He said, all those teams you just named, those are American teams. And he says, that's one of the biggest challenges in Canada is your choices get scrutinized a lot more harshly than the U.S. team's choices get made. But Boston's one of those teams. Put it this way. I think they want to sign Swayman. That's not going to be cheap. And there's a limit to how much you can pay your goalies. They have a kid, Bussy in Providence, who needs waivers next year. They don't want to lose. For argument's sake, if they decide he's the guy they're going to move, they don't want to lose him for nothing. So they have to make a decision. Also, look, Fleury, off the market. Saros, off the market. Markstrom, Calgary all of a sudden says they want to keep him, although we'll see. So if you're sitting there with a goalie that you could move and someone decides they need it now, you've got a piece that can get you a lot. And that's what I think Boston's weighing. Now, they're also sitting there and they're saying, this is our biggest strength in goal. Do we want to hurt ourselves there now? And the other thing too, guys, is that Ullmark has a partial no trade. And I am under the impression that middle of the season, it is going to be very hard, if not impossible, to get him to waive during the season.
The Pettersson situation, how did that all go down? Were Carolina serious contenders? And do you think that pushed Vancouver to have to pay him to a number maybe they weren't originally comfortable with? Like, what was the wait? Why did it take so long? Was it always just money for Pettersson?
No, I think it was always just when he wanted to do it. Like, I would, you guys really understand this as much as anybody does. You guys are in your dressing room. You've got 20-something guys there. You generally know where everybody stands. Like, you could point at this guy in this stall, he's happy here. This guy in this stall, he wants to play more. This guy in this stall, he'd rather be closer to his family in X city. That you could go all the way around and you know where everybody stands. But everywhere you go, there's always going to be maybe one guy where you point at and you say, I have no idea what he's thinking. And that guy in Vancouver was Pettersson. Like I'll tell you, players said last week when they heard he was going to sign, they were surprised. Yeah. Not because they didn't think not because they thought he hated it there or anything, but because he just didn't share information. Like, I think Pettersson was going to sign in Vancouver this summer. I believe that now. But his position was, I don't need to do this now. I have another year before I'm a UFA. So what's the big deal? So what happened was last weekend, Sunday, Monday, around that time, the Patrick Allvin, the GM, and Jim Rutherford pulled him into a room next to where they practice. And they just said, Elias, you're stressed out. You're not playing well. Our team is stressed out. We're going through our first slump. Think of all the positivity you can create if you sign. There's too much noise. The media is talking about this. They're driving us crazy. And they said, look, we just saw what happened with Matthew Tkachuk in Calgary. We do not want to go to the situation in the summer where you tell us, you know what, I want to leave. And even though Calgary got good players for Tkachuk, they were stuck. They didn't want that. And the other thing is, look, I think this. I don't know if Jim Rutherford actually would have traded him, but he wanted at least to make Pettersson think it could happen. And I do think that the Hurricanes believed for a time there was a possibility a deal could get done. So they told him all this. Pettersson listened. He said, look, I think I'm leaning towards signing. And they said, sleep on it and let us know. He called them the next day and said, I'm going to stay. And that's when it got done. So, Paul, I think the issue was he was going to sign, but he wanted to sign on his timetable, and the Canucks wanted to accelerate it.
And the Canucks went to Carolina because they thought they were a serious contender in giving a good return. And they had to protect the fact that, hey, man, if they go to him with the information that they want to sign him and he's still like, they could have potentially traded him if he wouldn't have signed before the deadline.
Yes. Well, first of all, Carolina made a legitimate offer. Like, Carolina,
do you know what it was?
I don't, but I
yeah,
suspect
you do.
I
you do.
Prospects. They have great prospects.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They have maybe the best prospect pool, but it was NHL players too. I think there were like 2 NHL players at least and prospects. I put it this way: I think that situation in Carolina will get to a head, like Nuches's future there.
Okay.
So I think that's possible, but you're not grinding any more out of me because I'm just not sure. And I drive enough people crazy at this time.
Yeah, no,
year.
you're good.
I really want to limit it.
We love this. This is legitimate. We just make shit up. Hey, I think it's a lot less stressful to just make shit up like us, Elliotte. Why don't you just jump on the rumor boys?
Because he has credibility, dude.
Yeah, I know. No. Who cares?
It's just like, you know what it is, Biz? There's a limit every week. Like, I have a pretty thick skin, but everybody has a limit every week of how many people you want yelling at you, in addition to your wife, right? So, so at this time of year, I really try to keep that number down. That's
Okay,
all.
since we never talk about Carolina.
Oh, and by the way, I wanted to tell you, like, I asked people, do you think Jim Rutherford really would have traded Pettersson? And I'm like, they could win the Stanley Cup this year. You can't trade Pettersson when you could win the Stanley Cup. And most guys were like, no, we agree with you. You don't do that. But I got to tell you, like, a couple of the guys who've known him for a while, they said if anybody had the brass ones to do it, it would be him.
Yeah, but to me, that was what I was so confused about, because you just trade him in the summer if he won't re-sign. And then, like, it's going to still be a monster deal in a return for him. It made no sense to me that they would trade him before the deadline if he wouldn't sign. I mean, obviously you heard otherwise, but to me, it's like, do it in the summer.
Look, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think they would have done it. But the point is, they had to at least create the impression that they could do it. It's all leverage. But I think the most important thing, guys, is, as you know, sometimes after negotiations, there are hard feelings. That press conference said to me, there were no hard feelings.
No.
Everyone's happy, and they move on. And they won last night.
I was going to go, RA, quickly to Carolina. To me, they've made the Eastern Conference, I don't know what, 3 times, haven't won a game. I feel like the power forward is one thing that they're missing. Obviously, they're hungry to do something. Svechnikov has been like unreliable in the health department, and he's like kind of the only power forward they have. Is Buchnevich or Tarasenko a strong possibility? I feel like Buchnevich would be a great fit. Are they kicking tires on that?
Yes. Well, they don't like rentals, Biz. If you look at their history, so Buchnevich, if he's truly available, he fits.
He's got 1 year left, right?
Yes, he fits with what Carolina likes, 1,000%.
Tarasenko doesn't, though.
Well, the thing is that I would say this, that Carolina historically, they don't believe in rentals, not at a big price. You know, they'll do like a 3rd or 4th rounder, but they won't pay for the top rentals. But you said something there, Biz, that I agree with. At what point in time do you change? Like, I think they're really good. They've got a ton of free agents on their roster after this year. Like, sooner or later, you have to say, okay, we're going to break our principles a bit to go for it. Like, think about last year. Florida, they got to the final. They were totally out of gas. They did an unbelievable job. They were out of gas. I got to think, if you're Carolina and you were watching that Stanley Cup final, you're thinking, we could have given Vegas a better series. But why did they lose? They didn't have the scoring. They could not score against Florida. So if I'm Carolina, I'm sitting here and saying, we've got a great team. We could win. We've handled all of this craziness in goal this year. If there's ever a year to bend and go for a Tarasenko or a Gensel, like, I think Gensel would be dynamite on that team. This is the year for me for Carolina.
Yeah, and they couldn't get to the inside on Florida because they don't have a lot of power forwards. Everything was from the outside, and I think that year they led the league in goals by defensemen. They weren't getting that shit done anymore. But that's for another day.
Jordan Stahl's going to beat the hell out of you, by the way, for saying that they don't have any power forwards.
Well, he's on the 3rd line though, right? He's a 3rd line center, so he's not in that top 6 role. So, you need someone in that top 6 role, like a Svechnikov and maybe even one more. And the reason I said Tarasenko is, you said that like the returns aren't going to be where they were. And like Tarasenko is kind of he's a bit of a wild card. And I figure he'd probably be pretty cheap right now.
Well, and also he controls it, right? Like, he's going to decide where he wants to go. Ottawa's not going to interfere with that. Like, he's not going to cost you as much as Buchnevich or Gensel is going to cost you. That's for sure. For sure.
Elliotte, we have the usual, pending UFAs this year, but it seems like a lot more guys with term are getting mentioned this year. Are we going to see a lot of guys with term get dealt this year, you think?
They could, like Vetrano, but I've heard the price on Vetrano is really high.
It should be
really high. Yeah,
it should be.
He's good. And don't forget, last year, Verbeek, he held Adam Henrique. He said, "Look, if you don't pay me what I want, I'll wait." So that's what he's kind of done with Vetrano. The price on Buchnevich is high. The price on Vetrano is high. There are some teams that always prefer term. Like, I think teams have gone to Calgary and asked about guys like Anderson, Rasmus, and Coleman, and Calgary's like, no, we don't need to do that. We like those guys. I do think there's some guys with term out there. I'm trying to think of who else. Like, the one team, and I don't think they're going to do it now, RA, but I think Ottawa could be really interesting in the summer. Like, just taking like a whole look at what they like and what they don't like. Whit, you lit them on fire with your tweets about Brady Tkachuk. I don't see that yet, but I do think they might consider something bigger with one of their guys with term.
I'm glad you brought that up. I said I got a text from somebody who's been pretty reliable. I go, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then Senators fans are going nuts on me. I said, I agree with you. But I'm glad you brought that up because I had to address that. But I want to go out. I want to go out to Denver because they had that cup run. They were incredible. It sucks with Landeskog. Now, who knows if he ends up showing back up and is ready to go. But I can't see them sitting by quietly, and at least not like it's the windows, right? And that's why you said Carolina. You got to just change something, and you got these small windows. So Colorado, what are you hearing? That's another place that if you throw Gensel on Colorado, it's like, holy shit. Because I feel like they just need something else up front.
Elliotte, Crosby. Tell me Crosby.
No, it's like that's not happening.
Just tell him.
right
Just
now.
say Crosby.
That's not.
Lay off the
happening
dust, Paul.
now. No. I like you know what, Biz. Just a second on Crosby. Like you know Crosby really well. Okay, here's my question to you, and Whit, you know Crosby really well. Ra, you know Crosby really well. Like you look at him. You said Malkin extended, Letang extended. Do you see Crosby giving up on those guys after they all extended long term?
Bring him with them. Bring him with
after
them.
Last year, after this year,
put him in the carry-on.
If next year, now here's the thing. I think he's so loyal, and I think being on one
Yes.
team is. But selfishly, as a fan, I just want to see him somewhere else because I'm pretty sure, like. I don't think anything is going to be happening there the next few years. It's unfortunate, but they just don't have what it takes to, let alone win the cup, make the playoffs.
Yeah, I can't see Crosby abandoning those guys. Well, definitely not now. I got to tell you, Biz, an overhead, a suitcase with Malkin and Letang in it is not going to fit in the overhead bin. By the way, that's not going to fit.
That's true.
In
I meant to say underneath in a crate or something.
Just on Denver, like, look, you see all these videos with Landeskog. Are you not convinced he's going to try to play in the playoffs?
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I have no knowledge that it's going to happen, but I watch all these videos of him skating, and I think he's going to try to play in the playoffs. I really do. So that also ramps it up. They're hard for a second line center. I think they've looked at Henrique. I think they've looked at. The two guys from Arizona, Kerfoot and Bjugstad. I think they've looked at some other second line center. Like basically, if there's a center out there, I think Colorado is looking at them to play number 2 behind McKinnon. They were in on Tanev, so I've wondered about D, and I think Fleury would have ended up going there potentially if Fleury was available, which he isn't now. So I do think they're looking hard at the 2C, and they will add. The question to me is how big do they go?
Elliotte, if you had one hockey wish from like a genie in a bottle, would it be Crosby to the Avs though? What would be your hockey wish if you could make something happen?
I've got to say, my hockey wishes, dreams do not involve trades. I would have to. I don't know. I'd have to pick something else more inventive. You know what? Honestly, I want to see him finish his career in Pittsburgh on a good team. I really do.
I don't know if that's happening.
Yeah. Good
But
luck. You might need another genie.
But I'll tell you this, Biz. I asked McKinnon if we'd ever see him play with Crosby, and he kind of looked at me like, "You cannot seriously think that I'm going to answer this question, do you?"
I love that you asked that, though.
He said, "Yeah, on the Canadian Olympic team." Smart guy. Smart guy.
I love that. We'll get to that later. Okay, so I want to go back to Canada, though. Markstrom, what was he so upset about, and what about upper management fucked that whole situation up? Like he was pretty irate.
Yeah, this is what he was mad about. As you guys all know, it's easier to move when you're single as opposed to when you have a family. And he has a family now. I think if he was single, this wouldn't have bothered him as much. But I think what happened was he thought he was going to New Jersey. He thought that deal was happening. They went to him and they said, "Look, if we can get this done, would you consider New Jersey?" And he said, yes, he did. He would. And so he got it in his head. And then it didn't happen. Now, I thought it didn't happen because the Flames and the Devils were arguing about how much the retention would cost. But someone else told me it didn't happen because the Flames went on a tear. Markstrom was playing great, and they decided, you know what, we're going to go for the playoffs. But whatever the case, he was told, I'm not getting traded. You're not getting traded. And so he got mad about the fact that he said, if you're not going to trade me, why would you come to me and tell me that I could get traded? Like some guys, they don't care. Some guys care, and he cared. So that's why he was upset. Now, I don't know where this is going to go over the next week, but the one thing I do know is this: New Jersey is prepared to wait on him. They like him. They've targeted him as their goalie. And if it doesn't happen this week, they'll try again in the summer.
Hey, is it true that he was like pretty much had a verbal agreement to sign with the Oilers before he signed with the Flames?
Yes, that is true. I woke up, I went to bed that night with saying that Jacob Markstrom is actually, I shouldn't say that. I think it was 2 nights before I went to bed and people were like, Jacob Markstrom, Oilers, book it. And then I woke up the next day. I don't have my notes in front of me. It was something like this. I think it was the day before the deadline. And the same person texted me and said, scratch the Oilers. He's going to Calgary. Like it was
for
really
less
close.
dough, I think.
For less dough and less signing bonus.
I think he signed a 6-year deal with the Flames. I think it was a 7-year deal with the Oilers. I think the money was similar overall, but the bonuses may have been different. Yes.
I was just going to stick with Mika Kiprasov quickly because he was in Calgary and they had that awesome night for him. He played 9 years there. Like, I don't know how many of our younger fans know the impact he had there and just like who this character was. Like, do you have any Mika Kiprasov stories or anything, just since we're on the topic of Calgary?
Well, the one I shared the other night is, first of all, as a member of the media, we didn't know him that well at all. Like, he made a joke during his media conference. Like, Peter Hanlon is the longtime media guy there. And he said, Peter, thanks for sending out Connie and Iginla to talk so I didn't have to. And he was like that. He was not crazy about talking to us. But Jim Playfair, who was an assistant coach and later a head coach there, he told a story about driving on the highway in Calgary. And he turned and he looked at the next car and it was Kiprasov. And while Kiprasov was driving, he had his glove hand up and he was like doing this. He was like doing this. So Playfair said to him, like, what were you doing while you were driving? And he said, I was working on my glove hand. The pebbles were coming up and I was pretending I was catching them. And that's what that guy was like, man. And I gotta say, they told the stories about tequila. Apparently, he was a legend. He was legendary.
Oh, I heard he drink.
I heard he was like during that run they went on, like he was just kind of partying with the city as if he was just kind of a normal fan, where he would be at the bars just hanging out with the fans, ripping darts, drinking tequila, getting fucked up, and like, and then I was talking to Mike Commodore too, and he said. Like during the lockout, he would just show up as a player to these open skates. So like people around Calgary would be like, is that fucking Mika Kiprasov? Like just skating as a normal player, like in our men's league game at 11 o'clock at night, banged up. So they said he used to live out on like a farm and he would just ride on his lawnmower and cut the grass and drink beers. Like he's just an interesting character.
He's perfect for, like, he's a goalie. That's number one. But the guys who knew him said he was perfect for Calgary. Like he was just like a Calgarian. Like, and he fit perfectly with aside from like being a cowboy, because I don't know if he was a cowboy, but he fit perfectly with the image of the city. Perfectly was what I was told.
So staying in Alberta, I got my Oilers lid on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Leon can sign an extension July 1st. Connor can sign an extension the following summer.
Yeah.
They're all in. Everyone's pretty evident. There's been a million reports. They're first rounders in play.
Yeah.
Now, the issue would be they have to trade people from their roster, right? So
yes.
What are you hearing on them? I have to think there's going to be noise there no matter what come Friday at 3.
Wait, did you watch that game last night? Oilers Pittsburgh.
It was RA had one of the tweets of the year. He said he was watching a nature documentary of oil workers bludgeoning penguins and nobody was doing anything about it.
Bravo, RA.
That was
You're the hog.
stuff, man. Okay.
I think they could have won 10-0, and talking to someone in Edmonton, like they almost let up a little bit. I guess Pittsburgh didn't get in till 3 a.m. too.
No, they had a plane issue, but still, like
that was a drumming.
Yeah, Okay, I was watching the game. Watch the 5-0 goal, CC, and watch the Oiler bench. Okay, they go bananas when
They
he
love
scores. Well, you know what that says to me is that
They like
those
him.
guys know. They know. Like they're looking at this and saying, if we make a trade, it could be him, and that's their way of saying we love this guy and we support him. Like that's. So when you talk about someone might have to go out to make the money work, they know he could be one of the guys. So they made an offer for Tanev, first rounder, but Calgary had to take a player. Okay. Calgary didn't want that deal. I believe they've done something similar with Philly, with one of their guys, Walker or Sealer, that they have said, we're interested. Here's the first, but you're going to have to take a guy. What I can't figure out is like they were clearly in big on Tanev, but who is the next person on their list? I think they like Gensel most of all. I just don't think they believe they're going to get him. So that they've offered, I think they've talked to Anaheim about two guys, Henrique and Carrick, both of them. They've talked about obviously Buchnevich, Toffoli. I don't know that Toffoli's going anywhere. Like they're in on all these guys. What I'm trying to figure out is who's at the top of the list, because I think they're looking at 2 forwards and a D, and I think they've made their decision. They're going with Skinner, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
Wow.
I'm okay with that too. Here's my thing. Sorry, Biz. One sec.
No,
I went on Oilers Nation, and I was talking about the upgrade on D. My thing with CC is, like the fans get on him, but in the end, if it was Tanev, no doubt, that's a big time upgrade. But I don't necessarily, with the team and the mojo and how much they like CC, are willing to have them deal him for someone like Walker or Sealer. Like, I don't think that's a big enough upgrade to mess with what's gone on in that locker room. To come out of hell and come into possibly winning the division if Vancouver keeps sliding.
Well, I think that's what they're weighing. I do. I think that's why, like, you would think that since they made an offer for Tanev, that D is their first priority. I don't necessarily think that. I think Tanev was their first priority, and that's why I'm trying to figure out like who's kind of next. The thing I'd say too about the CC thing is, it would not surprise me. I don't know that this happened, but it would not surprise me if some of their players had said internally, we would prefer if CC stayed.
Wow.
Now
he's a ride or die. That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't Biz, I don't know that, but it's been kind of hinted that they have had conversations about who the group.
No, I heard McDavid and Leon drop their jerseys off on the coach's desk like Rudy, and they said, if he's gone, we're gone. That's what I heard.
I don't know what's going to happen.
I'll go with that. I'll see who calls and yells at me for that one.
I don't know what's going to happen, but there's rumblings like Jason Gregor. I'm friends with him, and he's really inside that team. But there's something going on with Kane there, and he doesn't like his ice time. And if there's any sort of time to get out somebody who's possibly bringing down moods, I don't know if you can move that deal, but that's something I wouldn't be shocked at. I'm just saying it.
I have to say that I don't necessarily disagree with you that anything is on the table for them. Here's my thing about Kane. He's been very quiet lately. Do you think, like, in the playoffs, you need guys like that?
Yeah, you do.
Now,
100%.
You need him going. Like, if you watch the game they lost in Calgary, like, him and Kadri, they have a thing. I don't know what this is, but he was, like, they didn't play great that night, but he was engaged. And, like, Kane is one of the best forecheckers in the league, and the playoffs is all about forechecking. Like, I understand that maybe at times they might have considered doing something there, but you just tell me how. Now, again, he's got to be playing great. They need him to play great, but tell me how they're a better team without Kane against Vegas or Edmonton or LA or Vancouver.
No,
just
they
show
aren't.
me the deal that makes them better.
They
Show
aren't,
me
but
the
if
deal
he's
that makes
playing
them
third
better.
line and he's pouting, like that is negatively affecting the team. So I
Nice
agree.
word.
When that guy's on, and it goes back to when he crushed Kadri and hurt him in the playoffs. So it's like he's playing angry and engaged. He's an incredible player, but all of a sudden there's like him and Leon are going at it on the bench. So I don't know. Like I'm saying with you, like there's just anything's on the table with them because it's win now mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to talk toughness too, I heard from somebody, Braden Shen. Could that be a possibility?
What?
I heard
You know
the name
what?
Braden Shen come up for the Oilers.
I'll say this. I did hear that earlier in the season. That name did come up to me, but I was told like, just how on earth would you make that work? Like,
You don't
like
know.
That's when Biz takes a
Let-
sip of water.
That's not I'm not the capologist, buddy. I don't know.
no, but
I just
but
throw
like-
names out and I get help.
But Biz, like in a vacuum, 1,000%. Like, why wouldn't the Oilers want a guy like Braden Shen? But I just don't know how it all works.
Okay.
That's my question.
Yeah,
It's
just
not
4
a
more
bad.
years.
It's not a bad fit for Edmonton at all. It's a great fit. I just have no idea how you.
Well,
can do
I
it.
mean, like this is just hypothetical here. If you guys were saying like the Kane problem, if that's actually a problem, him and CC out for maybe they could also address the D situation on something also coming from St. Louis with Braden Shen. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
St.
We're
Louis
the rumor boys.
St. Louis has definitely tried to move a defenseman. Like they tried to move Krug last year and he blocked it. So like there's no question that the Blues are
Okay.
open. The problem with the Blues is all the guys they've tried to trade, there haven't been any nibbles. And all the guys they don't want, the guys that everyone wants are the guys that they've made it very hard to trade. That's
Yeah.
kind of where we are right now.
Okay.
Elliotte, the Flyers have been a pleasant surprise this season. What do you see them doing? Standing pat, being a seller or buyer? What do you think?
What do you think,
pan out
Rear?
for them? I think they kind of stand pat. I don't think they're going to get rid of any guys. I mean, they got a good shot getting in the playoffs. Why not try to ride it out? I don't think they should pot with anybody unless the deal's just that good.
I
But
think you smoked crack before you came on.
I
If you don't
think
think they're
I
sellers.
disagree with you. They got to move some people.
They got to move it. What do you mean? They're trying to tank, right?
Well, here's where I think RA is right.
Whoa!
Suckling that.
Yes.
I do believe that the Flyers have discussed if there's an inexpensive ad in goal and up front, like doesn't cost us a lot to get, that their players deserve to be rewarded for how well they've played this year. Like this is why I don't think Toronto's put Martin Jones on waivers, because they know a team like Philly is going to claim him. And so, because they need another goalie. But if Philly can get an inexpensive goalie at a low, in terms of what acquisition costs, I think they'll consider it. If they could add another forward that doesn't cost them much, I think they'll consider it. Because I do think, like Jones and Briere, they played. You know how much Tortorella pushes those guys. They think their group deserves to be rewarded for how well they've played. And I have to say this: the Flyers are kind of getting disrespected a bit, because all those teams behind them in the Atlantic think they can catch them. There's no way they're going to last. And the Islanders are sitting there looking at them and saying, there's no way they're going to last and we're going to catch them. So I think that they are considering adding a bit. Walker is term. Last I heard, they were looking around 4 years and he wants the 5th. Sealer, I think, is a little bit of money. I think he's higher than they want to go. And, it's poker. Like this week is poker. It's like the players and the agents say, we want this. The team says we're only doing that. The team says we'll trade you if we get this. The other teams say, well, we don't want to give you that. Who blinks first? So the one thing I did get kind of told was that it seemed less likely that Lawton would go. I heard the price on him was really high. I think some teams really liked him, but I heard the price on him was really high.
Hey, and you don't want to end up like Klingberg. If you're playing poker, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Right, Whitty?
Islanders Flyers April 1st could be an incredible hockey game.
Yeah,
Because I think there's one team that can get them, and I think it's the Islanders.
They think it too.
Yep.
They do. They think it too.
I was going to ask you about. Go ahead, Whit. You got another one?
I was just staying in the Metro. I mean, they go grab Tarasenko and Kane last year, so Drury's obviously up to something again. I think
Yeah.
probably all the same names we're kind of chatting about, but they'll do something, right?
I heard
Well, they
Alex
like that
Tuck today.
They like that Novak guy in Nashville. They really liked him, but he's signing. I've heard. I reported on Saturday
He had a
night that
sick
he's
goal
got,
the other night. Little fake
Yeah,
pass brings it to his backhand.
he like I don't know a lot about him but he can really score. Like he's a
he's
really
nice.
talented guy. So that was the guy I think the Rangers really wanted because he's talented and he doesn't make a ton, but I heard there's an extension coming in Nashville with him. I think they also looked at Alex Tuck. I think a few teams have looked at him, but I've heard Buffalo's not really interested in doing that right now. They're not interested in moving Tuck. So, like, I think you're wondering about, does he pay the price for Vetrano? But, they also could use some depth. Like, as much as I love watching Rempe play, like, do you think that fourth line is good enough to win in the playoffs?
So here's my theory on Rempe. In a playoff series, he could blow out 2 defensemen's shoulders on the other team. So I actually think he's a valuable piece. He is a fucking mutant out there, and he can move. Did you see how quick he closed on Lyubushkin? So saying, like, is it a Vegas fourth line where they're playing 10 minutes and they're effective, and if they get a good turnover shift in the offensive zone, they could work any team's first line? No. But I don't know, man. You're going against, like, he's like a torpedo. So that's how I view him as being effective. Him. And I was going to ask you about that in general. Like, I feel like sometimes the Canadian media likes to kick up the dust on the fighting stuff and like, oh, he's 21. Like, he's fought in 4 times in 7 games. It's like he's also running around fucking crushing guys through the boards. I
want to talk about this in a second because I'm glad you brought this up. But let me just answer the Ranger thing. So I do think they're going to try to find a high-end guy. I do. Yeah. Like, if Vetrano makes 3.65 next year, they can, if they can fit that. The problem is there's other guys who have term, like Riley Smith, but he's at 5. Buchnevich is at 5.8. I'm just not sure how high the Rangers can go here. But also, like, they know Colin Blackwell. They know Kevin Rooney. I've kind of wondered if they would bring those guys in as depth guys. The other guy I kind of wondered about was Tyler Johnson. But he's at $5 million, I think. That's a tough one. But I do think he's going to do 2 or 3 things. Look, they can win. Like, you can't. I had a really good talk with someone the other day. He said that the thing about that panics you as a manager at this time of year is you know what your weaknesses are, and if you don't win the Stanley Cup, those weaknesses are what's going to beat you. So you sit there and you say, I better address my weaknesses because if I don't win, I know that I should have done this now. I think that's what Drury will do. Absolutely. Now, about the whole Rempe thing, my only concern with Rempe, Biz, is that, when I was watching his fight against Olivier in Columbus, someone texted me and said, this kid does not know how to fight yet. Like, he doesn't know how to do it. And that's the only thing that scared me. Like, if you're going to trade, because, we knew that Reaves was on the schedule last week. And if you're going to trade bombs with Reaves, never mind the other guys he already did it with, you have to know how to protect yourself. I thought he did really well. Like, he started grabbing the arms. So that's why I was concerned, Biz, because I was just worried that he was going to get killed because he didn't really know how to protect himself. So that was my concern. But the one thing I completely agree with you with, and I see it with what you guys do every day, is that there is a big change on the sides of the border about what kind of coverage is acceptable. Like, I look at some of the things you guys put out, and I would be like, I would be on the unemployment line tomorrow.
We're not as bad as Heat Daddy. We toe the line a little better than Heat Daddy, though, don't we?
I don't know. It's pretty close. But I would be on the unemployment line if I wish there were I don't know if I would do everything you guys do, and I say that as a compliment, but I wish there was a bit more of a line moving in Canada, because there's no question that when it comes to just about anything, like in the United States, it's like the whole world's a stage, right? Like everything, it's all entertainment, and like everything is entertainment. And up here, We're not quite like that. We take things a lot more seriously, and there's no question in my mind that plays a role in hockey coverage, 1,000%.
I felt like the energy leading into that game though was something else for a regular season game.
It was a great game. Like, it was a great game. Like, it was funny. Like, in the morning, Rempe and that other big guy Edstrom, they stayed on the ice long at an optional morning skate. So they walk into the dressing room at the same time, and they're both massive guys, and their stalls are right next to each other. And there's a media horde waiting around Rempe, and he turns to Edstrom and he goes, "They're all here for you." And Edstrom just rolls his eyes and just like, whatever. But it was,
that is so
you know,
good.
like he's a really nice kid. Like, he seems like he's got a real good head on his shoulders.
Yeah, he'll learn. Hey, and going back to like, he doesn't really know what he's doing. I mean, when I did it in junior for the first couple of times, I fought a lefty. I didn't even know what the fuck that meant. I thought everybody punched right, and and that's the reason my nose is halfway around my head. So you kind of have to learn by doing. You know,
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yes.
You learn. You get a few bops along the way and a few black eyes. But I was going to ask you, not about a trade, but expansion.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Coyotes moving to Utah? What percentage are you at? And also on the fact that whether Atlanta's going to happen or not.
Well, I think Bettman's going to Arizona soon. I do. I do think he'll go and he'll meet with the team.
If you were to guess, are they playing there next year? Just a yes or no. You don't want to get in trouble.
It's not. This is not about not wanting to get in trouble. This is about, I know whatever I say is going to be a headline somewhere, and it's how much aggravation I want to.
We got memes behind the scenes here ready to quote tweet you.
Do you know what? I mean, you gotta tell memes. The other day, I actually thought Whit was on Rogan. I texted him.
He texted me. He's like, "How was it?" I go, "Holy shit, memes got you good."
Shit. Oh my god, you're a boomer. You're a boomer. The boomer got got.
Yeah, I did. Like, I have to say, I don't get got a lot, but I saw. I'm listening to it. I'm like, this is crazy, but could happen on Rogan. Like, it's not like it's impossible that whole thing could happen. So yeah, he totally got me. I texted Whit. I go, "How was it?" He goes, "You idiot. That was memes."
Yeah. Elliott's like, "How are the shrooms? Where'd you get them?"
Rogan would have been like, "Why did I get 10,000 downloads this episode? I'm usually getting 8 million."
Yeah.
You know what? Wait, I was thinking about that too. I was like, that doesn't seem like but good for you, Whit. Like,
suck on that, Whit.
No,
suck on that.
Whit and I have both joked that we were so bad on the Pat McAfee show, we were never invited.
Never got invited back.
Yeah, it's and so it's just funny. It makes me laugh.
That is so good.
They were just here, and they were in the middle of losing 13 in a row or whatever it was, and they've now won 2 straight. But I can see it's weighing on them. Like, they think it's a possibility. That's what I'd say. Like, they and I have to say this too. None of this stuff happens without the league's approval. Like,
does Bettman decide? Will he be the guy saying you're not playing here next year?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's his call.
Okay.
Like I'll say this. When Atlanta moved to the Jets in 2011, they didn't announce it to the end of May, but that possibility. They were preparing for it for months. At the very least, here, they're preparing for it. And I do think we will have expansion at some point. You know what, Biz? Honestly, I think Atlanta, that could have a lot to, like, I look at your other employer, and like, if TNT's in it for the long haul, I could see the NHL wanting to be in Atlanta. It's great synergy.
I'm going to try to get a mascot job here. Be the team mascot.
RA had something on the outline.
A thrasher. What's a thrasher do?
The bird.
No, I know, but like, what's it? Does it make? What sounds it make? Or is it a fake? Is it a fictitious bird? All right, give me it.
I don't know. I've never seen a fucking thrasher before.
Not bad. Hey, I got some competition. Are you submitting a resume too? You think they'll go back to the same name Thrasher, or they'll do something different?
Is that the dumbest question I've ever heard, dude? You think they're
They're
going
gonna
to go back to
Thrasher?
the worst team and organization in league history?
They wouldn't go back to naming it the Thrasher.
God, no.
What if RA did that sound and
Possibly.
I don't know. They could.
All right, back to my question.
Done.
You know,
RA
I
in
think the
outline.
mascot would actually be RA making that sound.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I could,
It's
that
just
could sell a
RA.
lot of
That's the
tickets.
mascot with the crack pipe. What about Bucci had a tweet and RA wrote it down. It was back in the day, 4 of 6 teams made the playoffs. 16 of 21 made the playoffs. And now we're 16 of 32. It's money. It's more interest. Like, are we ever going to get more teams, maybe 20 in making the playoffs?
I am completely in support of that. I have spoken to owners who are completely in support of that. I think it is. I think it would make more money. I think it's better for television. You know, Whit, I've heard there's a lot of players who don't support it.
Really?
And yeah.
Well, Biz is shaking his head.
I'm saying it would be a disgrace if they changed the best thing in professional sports, which is the
I think
NHL
you could
playoff.
make it better. I think
What
you could
about
make it
2
better.
out of 3 for the 9 and 11
No.
and 10 and 12 or 9
Well,
and 12, 10 and 11?
16 wins. Half the teams make playoffs, and you
It
go
might
on
still
and
be 16 wins though, Biz.
no, I don't. I'm a traditionalist. I
Oh
think
my
that's
God.
just.
You're a traditionalist.
I think that
no sex before marriage.
That I gotta tell you, I have listened to every single one of your podcasts, and that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. That you are a traditionalist.
from a sense of like changing the size of the net. It's like it goes back to just no. I think that I think half the teams making the playoffs is a lot of teams. It's more than what baseball is. I believe it's more than what football is.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And no, I think it gets a little bit like basketball and like cheesy and watered down,
Okay,
where it's like
let
the
me
20th
say-
seed wins the Stanley Cup. It's like fuck that. It shouldn't even been in playoffs.
Biz, let me explain what I think would have to happen here, and I'll tell you why you're probably right that it won't happen. But number one, everybody would make more money. It makes your TV deal more valuable.
Biz is like,
2
I'm
extra
in.
nights. Yeah, 2 extra nights. Like this is what I would do. You end the regular season, and then what I would have is 10 at 7, 9 at 8, both conferences, back to back. Higher seeded team gets both games at home. First game, you play 60 minutes. If that the team that loses that game has to win the next game. If that team wins the next game, sudden death overtime, first goal moves on.
Holy fuck.
Okay.
I kind of
Wow.
love it. But
If the first game ends in a tie, the team that wins the second game moves on. So the first game is 60 minutes, no overtime, and it decides what's at stake in the second game. And if you have a split or two ties, one game, one overtime.
I love it. I love
sudden
it.
death to move on.
Biz is in. You
I
got him.
love the idea. I actually
Well,
But,
I
like-
mean, if we do get expansion, it would probably make sense.
I wish everybody's mind was this easy to change.
He's very
And
easy
you know what
to persuade. It was the money
you know what
comment,
the-
though.
You know what
No.
the problem is? Bettman is against it. When he was inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame, I asked him like 5 questions in a row about it. And finally, he just said to me, would you just stop this? It's not happening. And as far as I know, that's never changed.
But it's also interesting you said that you've heard that owners are very much open to it
Yes.
because you talk about money.
Revenue.
Yeah.
Ticket revenue.
Okay. I think that sometimes when you get through the dog days of the season, 82 games, I would rather see less regular season games played if that was the case, and then more impactful playoff games. That would be my
It's possible. It's possible, but does that mean say we go back to 72 games? Does that mean players will drop their salaries?
That's never happening. I mean,
Yeah,
the
no.
NFL's
Yeah.
trying to add an 18th game now
Yeah.
to the regular season.
Yeah. But
I think-
just imagine 2 nights at the end of the regular season
It'd be awesome.
with games that matter like that.
Yeah, because it's kind of like we treat the first round as March Madness. You're saying you can extend that excitement for longer.
2 days.
Which is what
2
March
days.
Madness did with those play-in games. And granted,
Yes.
like they're not always great games, but college basketball fans are in and involved.
So, and the advantage too is that if you're the higher seeded team, it's not like you're sitting there for a week off. That doesn't happen. You play game 82, one night off, then game 1, then game 2, one night off. So the top team is only off for like 4 days, which is what normally happens anyway before the playoffs.
And you have the advantage of kind of like licking your chops where this team that you're playing just played 2 games.
Yeah.
So that's where you get the advantage. Okay.
And GMs would love it because if they're the 9th and 10th seed, they're like, I made the playoffs.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
no small incentive.
And also a little bit more of a bonus for getting that 1st and 2nd seed, right? So if you win your division, you kind of get this a little bit more of a layup where there's really not much advantage other than home ice from a 1st to 8th seed right now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Damn. What a breakdown. Thank you, Elliotte. You got my wheels spinning. I think I'm on your side now. I think expand playoffs.
Oh my God! I wish all my arguments were this easy.
No, brilliant.
Well, when you're
boys,
fighting Marek, you're in for the long haul.
That's
Oh
true.
my God!
All right, do you have any other ones? I got a couple more here.
Yeah, I do.
Talk
Back
about
to
foreign substances, Merrick.
what? Back to the expansion talks. Say there was expansion, Elliot, and they're going to pay that crazy fee, whatever it's going to be, $500 million or probably close to $1 billion. I know, Marty Walsh, the union president, said that the players are going to try to get their hands on some of that. Do you think that's a possibility at all? Or that's not going to happen.
No, I don't. But what they'll say is, look, it's 46 more jobs. That's their trade-off. I don't see that happening. All right. I understand why he says it. I understand why he tried to fight for it. I don't see it.
Okay. Well, another one. I just asked about Philadelphia. They had a surprising year. Same thing with Nashville. They kind of surprised people so far. They got, I think, almost an 80% chance to get in the playoffs right now. Do you see them making a move, standing pat, making any sort of moves at all? What do you think they're going to do?
Well, RA a couple of weeks ago, they had a lot of guys out there. They had Saros out there. They had Novak out there. They had the 2 defensemen out there, Carrier and Fabro. They had guys like Trennan. And now I think they've kind of pulled everybody off. Saros not going, Novak signing. There's been some rumors on the weekend that some other guys may sign too. Someone said to me they wouldn't be surprised if they add. They've been looking for scoring for quite some time. It's amazing. That whole U2 thing, how crazy it was, and they're unbeaten since then. I give those guys a lot of credit. They could have. I know people who would have totally tanked their season if like that had happened to them. I give those guys a lot of credit, and Nashville's looking at it like maybe we should add guys. So I can't believe we are where we are 2 weeks ago, but they've pulled all their guys off and they're thinking about adding.
What's your screen time like? Do you keep track of that? Does it tell you?
It does. So I got it on Sunday morning. It said your screen time was up 27% last week too. And I looked at the number and I said, it's not humanly possible. This
How many hours?
Last week was over 17.
Oh my, a day?
Yeah.
That's fucking
wow.
Dude, what?
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
that's like a
Yeah,
super.
I
I
was going
don't
to be
know,
doing
like,
studies on your brain.
I'm not worried about Rempe. I'm worried about you. You should be in concussion protocol.
It was this time of year. It's crazy. It's really you don't really get a lot of sleep because like you wake up. Like I've told this story before. There was a time when I turned off my phone and I missed the heads up about that day that the Leafs they traded for Dion Phaneuf and they traded a bunch of guys to Anaheim. So I missed that trade because my phone was off, and I don't think I turned my phone off like for almost a decade after that. Like it's crazy. Like
Wow.
And at this time of year, like it's probably not the right for a human being to be wired that way. But like you're hired to do a job.
That's why you're the number one guy.
You're a hockey mad scientist. You're just like mixing your potions and shit. Well, with the hair and stuff.
You talk to GMs and you talk to owners too. So are there any GMs though that if you text, you're not getting a response?
Yzerman.
No, I'll say this about Yzerman, and we've had our battles before, but if I text him like just saying, hey, like if I ask him about a move, like I said, like when Patrick Kane was signing, I can't remember if I was the first one to put it out this morning, but it was quick. I sent him a note saying, hey, look, I just hear Kane's going there. I know I'm not getting a response to that.
Okay.
But like, for example, last year, I sent him a note. At the end of last year, I sent all the GMs a note for our last podcast. It was early July. Are you done? And who's your breakout player next year? And he got back to me on that. Like if you're asking him, like Lou Lamoriello, like if you want to talk to him, he'll get in touch with you. But if you ask him about a move he's considering, you're not getting anything.
Does he make
it's just not?
Does he make you shave and then get on FaceTime?
Say, talk to you when you had your beard.
I did not get any comments from Lamoriello when I had my beard, but I did have people say to me, "You couldn't play for the Islanders." I've told one of my favorite Lamoriello stories, and I've told before. I don't mind sharing it. Was so. A couple of years ago, when Tavares signed with the Leafs, I wrote that the Islanders asked the league to do a tampering investigation, and I wrote that. And literally, I'm not joking. Like 3 minutes after I wrote it, my phone rang, and it was him. And he was like, "Elliotte, I would like to know about that. We definitely did not do that, and I would like to know where you heard that." And I said, "Give me a second." And so can I call you back? And he was like, yes. So I made a couple calls, and I found out that the league did do an investigation to just make sure that everything was on the up and up. But the Islanders didn't ask for it. The league did it on their own. So I was right, but I was wrong. And the problem was I was wrong about the Islanders.
Oh, no.
So I called him back. First of all, I corrected it. I changed it. And then I called him back and I said, look, it's already been changed. And he said, that's all good, but I would like to know where you heard that from. And I said, I'm not going to tell you. And he said, he says, like, you don't understand. I would like to know where you heard that.
He tried to bully you?
This guy Paul Bissonnette.
I would not call it bullying. But I would say he was persistent. And finally I said to him, you have to, it's a line I use with everybody. I said, you have to understand that you need to know that if you ever tell me something private, that I won't fold to pressure and give up your name if somebody else gets mad. That line always works, except he said to me, the problem with your theory is that I would never tell you something privately. and I had to laugh, but I just said, I'm not going to tell you. And I think he ultimately he understood. Yes.
Elliotte, are you familiar with the libel laws in the state of New York?
What a guy, man. So he is so he's sharp as he's old. He's as old school as they come. He's like a mob boss.
He is as old school as they come. But I'll say this, like, I have never felt that I was ever treated unfairly by him. Like, if you call him, he gets back to you. He won't tell you. One of the other things I remember was he was the one who signed Nazem Kadri to a long-term extension in Toronto, and the Leafs didn't put out the money because he does not believe in revealing the money. Well, it was like, this is Toronto, and we're going to find out what the money is. And eventually we all did. But he said to me later that he was uncomfortable with the amount of people that were calling him and asking him for the money. And that there definitely was some internal conversation in the organization. Like, normally if he says we're not putting out the money, everybody's like, okay, whatever you want. But I think in Toronto, it was kind of like, no, we're have to put out the money. Yeah. And like he admitted to me later, that was very unusual for him, that people were trying to explain to him why in Toronto that was not going to be allowed to work.
Does he do it with the Islanders now? Like, I feel like Barzell.
No, they don't put out the money.
Like, nobody knows what Barzell makes?
No, you find out.
No, but like, I got to tell you, like, when they signed Barzell, like I got it eventually, but he didn't put it out. Like, I think if I remember correctly in the Kadri case, eventually Toronto sent out a note saying, okay, this is the number, or they told people this was the number. With the Islanders, they're not telling anyone. We have to find it out some other ways. He's like, he is who he is, and
Yeah.
but like I'll say, like I've never felt threatened by him. I know he hasn't been happy with me at times, but I've never felt threatened by him, and
So
he's taught me an awful lot
mob
about
boss is probably not the right term to use.
No, I bet you he would love it. It
Capo.
wouldn't surprise me, to be honest.
See him in
He likes that people are intimidated by him.
I
Yeah.
bet he does. Yeah, he is an intimidating guy. What do
Grinelli
you got?
just texted me that there's rumors the Swayman deal could be getting finalized here, and he went through that arbitration hearing he wasn't too thrilled about in the end. But have you heard what that number could possibly be?
I think it's a big number.
Okay.
I think it's a big number, Whit. And you know what? Let me just see. Is that out there reported anywhere?
Oh, no,
or
G just said.
This is a bit of a
G
rumor
just
boys
said,
report.
Bruins
We're also
reportedly
hearing
closing
8
in.
years at
Okay.
7 years per. That's what I'm hearing right now.
Oh, yeah,
7 million
eight.
Yeah.
So he's getting 15 years.
Yeah, that's
No,
56
that'd be
million.
56 million, Biz.
No,
No, he's goofing.
I
out.
know. Grinelli
said,
was
yeah.
kept saying years. I'm like, can we?
Koval
Never
check
mind.
numbers.
You have to go back and listen.
Kovalchuk deal.
Yeah.
It's going to be in Russia.
It's going to be in rubles. They're going to pay him in rubles. Did you finish the answer on that?
I'm actually just sending some people some notes on
Ooh.
that to see if that turns out.
If you
to
get
be
a
true.
call about a trade, you have to take it live on Chiclets right now, by the way.
And give
People
us
would
credit.
never talk to me.
He's like, I've been
again.
on for an hour. How long you guys keeping
They
me?
get canceled.
I had just couple more things. I was going to obviously ask you about the Leafs, but Kings goaltending.
I don't know. Like they don't have any cap room. Biz.
They got
the other thing
LTIR
too is
space.
the other team. The other team. I'm hearing. I think they've looked at the goalies. Sorry, I just got a note I had to check. I think they've looked at the goalies. Hold on one sec. I have to mute you guys.
Oh, no. All right, let's go. Let's go.
Hey. Okay, so we're gonna speculate as to who this is about, just by the look on his face. That actually, it might be Lou. I think he's got his phone tapped, and he probably heard his name.
We just see a hitman come from behind the screen, put a bullet in his brain.
Hannaford to Florida.
Yeah, the ski mask.
Yeah.
The ski mask come about.
I bet
Joe
it's about the
Pesci,
Swayman
Goodfellas.
report, boys. I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
Exactly.
Oh, fuck.
No. Oh my
Hannaford.
boys.
Hannaford to Florida.
there's
There's the
hitman.
hitman.
Oh
There's
my
Oh,
the
no,
hitman.
Joe.
It's
Elliot,
his
behind you.
wife.
Behind you.
Be careful.
Oh, shit.
Oh, was that your wife?
Yeah, that was Steph.
Oh, we thought it was a hitman. We thought it was Lou who sent over a hitman because your phone was bugged. Oh, we thought it was over.
Steph, you want to say hi to the Spittin Chiclets guys?
What's up?
All right.
She's like, I don't even
She
want to say hi
declined.
to you.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you in a week.
And then, so the
I
goaltending.
always joke whenever it's really busy or I'm out. Like I'm out of the house. It's a good break for my wife's boyfriend. And during this week, he could be here, and I wouldn't even notice.
The Leafs. Tell me you believe in the Toronto Maple Leafs. Something feels different.
Biz, is this not the first year where you've looked at them and said they're better than the sum of their parts?
Yep.
Like, look at what's happened on D. Look at what's happened in goal, and they haven't fallen apart. Like, I actually do think there was a time this year where they were like, it doesn't make sense to buy. But now, like, the way they've played, you can't argue with it. You name a defenseman, they've looked at them. They have looked at every defenseman out there, particularly a right-handed shot. They're looking at everything they can on the. They tried to get Zadorov and Tanev together. They tried.
They did try that.
Yeah, right before Zadorov was traded.
Oh,
That one fell apart over retention. That they couldn't figure out how to make the money work. They were in on Tanev. You know, the problem is, Biz, they offered like a bunch of picks for Tanev, but they were all later because they don't have picks. Aside from their first rounder this year, they have no picks. And they don't want to trade Nyes. They don't want to trade Cowan. They don't want to trade Minton. So there's a limit in what they can do.
all right.
Elliotte, I want to ask about Patrick Kane. I know you said you don't think he's going to sign an extension with Detroit. Do you actually think he might end up back in Chicago?
No. I said I don't think he may not sign it right now.
Okay.
Like,
In
like,
season.
like,
Okay.
I could have said that a lot better, RA. I don't think it's necessarily going to be done before the deadline, but he's obviously very happy there, and they're happy with him. But my point was, I never saw a day he would go back to Chicago. But after watching the way that night unfolded and how they, the video they gave him and the ovation he got, I kind of wondered if there would be a possibility if it would ever happen. But my point about that was that I just don't think he's going to. He may not sign by now, but the Red Wings fans shouldn't panic that that means he's going anywhere. I could have said that a lot better.
What about the Eisner plan? Is it finally a little bit more motion going on? I know it's been a little bit of a stall for Eisman, but does it feel like it's made a lot more progress this year with Newsy behind the bench?
Yeah, they by the way, you're like Newsy's twin brother, eh? I'm looking at it right now.
Oh yeah, Newsy's gonna love that.
Look, I think he's like I think he's very like he's managing like a general manager whose job is to make the playoffs. Look at the guys he's added. Merrick said they're looking for a mean defenseman. I think that's true. I've wondered if they might be looking at a goalie, even though they've got three of them there. Lions saved their bacon this year. But, they like Eisenman is so tough. It's so like, he's like he's like the new Lamoriello. Guys are really terrified of pissing him off. Like I've heard in the past that he snaps when things get out there. So guys are really careful.
When they didn't release, when they were the only team that nobody knew about the Kraken, that was when you were like, all right, something's different here.
And he loved it too. Like I guarantee you that he loved. I remember when the Vegas team did their draft, like all those picks got out early too, and the last one to get out was the Jets. And the Jets were so proud of that. They were like, see, we don't leak. And I guarantee you, Eiserman was watching that whole thing, and he was loving it.
I had
Who was
two
the phone
things.
call with?
I can't answer
Eastern Conference or Western Conference?
Eastern.
All
Eastern.
right.
Eastern.
Back to Canada. Was going to ask you about Winnipeg and the recent meetings with Bettman. Like how, like if this was as bad as it is now for another 3-4 years, could the possibility of Winnipeg moving or being shipped out of town be a possibility?
3-4 years. I mean, we could all be hit by buses in 3-4 years. Like the thing that was amazing to me was that normally Bettman goes into these markets and the owner's the good guy and Bettman's like there to take all the heat. And here, Mark Chipman, the owner, he's the one taking the heat, and Bettman's like, "What's everybody talking
taking
about?"
strays.
It was very different for me. Look, I think he's really committed to Winnipeg. I don't think he likes teams moving. Like all you have to do is watch Arizona to know that that's the case. He does not like that. I think he really, look, I think one of the things that happened in Winnipeg, guys, was that they were so successful right away and everybody wanted there. I think sometimes you forget that you really have to work at it. And I think even the Jets have kind of admitted that everybody was coming to us. Our phones were ringing. We didn't even have to call anybody. And sometimes you get complacent. And look, I've heard everything like they're talking about sprucing up their in-game experience. Their social media has gotten a lot better. I think that's what the message is. Take care of your house before worrying about anything else.
Yeah, like weren't they trying to charge people for giving their tickets to somebody else other than them? Like there was like a fee associated to it. So just like little shit like that wears on people where they're like,
yes.
Fuck, you were the hot ticket in town when you first got here, but now that you're 500, it's like, fuck you for doing shit like that.
Well, it's right. That stuff does really anger people. There's no question about it. But look now, like guys, what's the best thing you can do to get fans in the building? Win. And they're winning games. And you look at the building, it's excited again. I don't think you should never threaten, we're going to move until you know that you've done everything possible and there's just nothing left. And I think even the Jets would admit there's stuff that they can do.
Not if you ask one current player who's in a playoff position. He thinks they're frauds.
I heard about that. Like, I've heard people say that about the Bruins. I'm like, I'm not saying that to Brad Marchand.
Not on this podcast. You watch your mouth, Elliotte.
Don't maybe
That's another fan
That's
base
half our
coming
fan
at me. I
base.
said I didn't say it. I didn't say they're frauds.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, you can tell Brad Marchand that. I'm not telling Brad Marchand that.
Yeah. And Elliotte, I was just going to say, like, the live show, like, obviously it was an honor having you there, man. It was like the Avengers got together. I thought you handled it like you're a fucking G the way that you handled it. What were your reactions after maybe digesting that?
I told you guys that they were going to boo us.
You said that to me, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Everybody loves you.
I'll tell you why. Like, I understood it. I totally got it. I really did. First of all, you guys are lucky, and I know you guys know it. You guys have great, loyal fans. You have built up your brand. Your fans love you. Now, I think there's a I think that's fine. Yeah, like, I think there's a crossover between some of our fans and some of your fans. I sure think there are people but your fans who bought tickets for that place that night, they wanted to see you. They did not want to see me. They did not, or Jeff. They bought tickets to see you.
It's Chiclets and friends, so I don't give a fuck what the 10 drunk guys thought.
Like, I don't know if you've ever seen this video before, Biz, but 1,000 years ago when I worked at the Score, we had an XFL party where WWE wrestlers were in attendance. And I don't know why, but the first shot, the limo pulls up and I get out and walk in and everyone booed. They were like, I don't want to see Elliotte Friedman. I want to see Kurt Angle, who was there that night. So, like, I loved it. I appreciated being included. It was a real honor. The best line I heard was, I didn't realize, and I have no problem with it, I didn't realize it, but you guys put the video out there of me doing the shot of Pig Whitney, and one GM texted me, it's like, this is like when my grandfather goes to the bar.
They said the same thing about Jeff swearing too. Like, people never heard him swear before. He dropped the F-bomb.
It's kind of like when they had me and DJ Khalid at the match. People were like, why the fuck is this guy here?
I got to tell you, I watched that. I thought it was the best was you had to put out a video of him denying that he thought he was playing.
Yeah, but
just step into
but
it.
He did
but he actually did think he was playing. Yeah. So it took me. I was on the podcast Elliotte. I was on the podcast the next morning, and they like RA teed me up with it right away, and that's why I asked you, like, how long did it take you to kind of like decompress and like remember everything that happened. And like finally it like settled in where this guy was just on his own fucking planet, thought he was playing the full match, got one hole against Barkley in the afternoon as kind of like a nice gesture. Well, Barkley beat him the first hole, so he was hounding Barkley to do a best of 3. So Barkley has to do the full broadcast that whole night. So he gets roped into like an hour and 45 minutes of content with DJ Khalid, and then Khalid beats him, and he wouldn't let it go the entire night. It's all that came out of his mouth is how he was blessed to have beat Charles Barkley. Like, so because he's beaten that so much and he's kind of getting a little bit painful, is they asked me to do a hit later on, and the cameraman's asking me to get out of the cart, and I'm like, well, what about DJ? And they're like, no, they don't want him on this hit. So finally they end up going like live to air with me, and then I walk right over to right back to Khalid, and I'm like, how was it beating Barkley today? And they were not happy, and that was the last time they showed us on there. So talking about being in a place where, like, you know, it's just like such a weird spot, and I guess it kind of made me think of that. So sorry for rambling.
Oh my god! No, I was laughing my head off when I saw that thing.
But some of the golf fans online were like, "Get these fucking guys off the air."
but that's the fun of it, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's the best part. No, guys, I loved it. I really appreciated being included. Like, you guys do unbelievable work.
It's an honor. Great. You're a G, man. You're a G.
Great having you, man. One last one. Where does Hannafin end up? Where does Noah?
I think if it's his choice, it's Tampa. I do think so. I think Tampa wants him. But that's like I said, if that was an easy trade to make, it would be done already.
Right.
Elliotte, good luck this week, man. You're in one. You're in one.
I
Yeah.
know.
See you later. Thanks for
Thanks
everything
a
you
lot,
do for
guys.
the
This is
game.
awesome.
Thanks, guys. You too.
All right, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at Game Time. You should not have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, theater, all that good stuff that's coming near you. Listen, summer's going to be here soon. Playoffs are coming soon. We got Bruins. We got Celtics. Pearl Jam's coming back. The Rolling Stones are coming back. I am going to be banging out Game Time all summer, all spring. Cannot wait. They got last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, all kinds of fancy stuff. And it is so easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event, no matter where you are. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event as well, even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. It's the best place to find them, too. You can find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and a whole bunch more. And with zone deals, you pick the section, and Game Time picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. I'm telling you, man, I can't wait for all these concerts this summer. All fired up for it, especially the Stones are going to be all over that. Don't take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Chiclets for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Chiclets for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Man, huge thanks to Elliotte for jumping on us. It's a treat to get a guy like that to come on a show and have a little fun in our sandbox. So thanks to Elliotte for jumping on us. Great stuff. But Murls, I got to go to you. KHL, was it a sucker punch or what? What was it? Buddy Robinson, South Jersey native, playing over the KHL. This dude, what's his name? Grigory Panin. Do you know any of these participants here,
So
Murls,
yeah,
or what?
explain
Yes.
the backstory, Murls. Explain the backstory here.
Yeah, so this Gregory Patton, the only time I've ever, I would say, taken a dirty hit, I think I was knocked out. You can check the video. I remember everything. I didn't get concussion syndromes, but I fell to the ice. I was on my knees when I was playing in the KHL, and this guy came and elbowed me, and my head banged right off where the glass and the boards meet. And I was like buckled.
That
just
was
laying
you
there.
in that video
Yes,
that you
dude.
sent over?
Yeah.
No
you didn't know
shit.
that?
Murls, he
Yeah.
took 4 strides when he saw you on your knees. That was the dirt. What did he get suspended?
Yeah, he got 11 game suspension. I forget how much money it costed him. It was a wild scene. And I don't really remember everything, but I know I didn't want to lay there, and they tried to bring the stretcher out, and I was like, no, my parents are watching. I got to get up. And I started walking out the Zamboni end, but then I was like still in it. I was like, oh no, I'll ruin my blades if I step on there, and I won't be able to play the rest of the game. Meanwhile, I'm just delirious. The 2 traders are holding me up. They brought me off. I just had like stitches in my head. I had no headaches. I ended up playing 3 or 4 days later with no problem. Never had another problem again. But yeah, he's a dirty guy. There's another time you can YouTube it. He ran Kozin was his name. He used to be a Maple Leaf.
Brandon
I think
Kozin.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, I think he took out Talbot's knee somewhere along the line. This guy just gets suspended every year.
And against North
games.
Americans, he's doing it.
Yeah, there you go.
So this clip that went viral the other day is the same guy that did that to you.
the guy that got suckered. Yeah.
Okay, so you
So-
were happy to see this
Yeah, I
guy
was
get
like, yes.
suckered. Now, I don't know how many of you saw the video. It looked like the guy who suckered him, he was kind of like looking to his hands like he was going to do a magic trick. And this fucking guy who suckered you, he got like roped in where he was like kept like looking closer and closer as to what he had in his hand. And next thing you know, the guy just goes, whoosh, and clocks him in the face. So why was he skating towards him?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you have a beef and you're just going at the guy like chin first, like
He was
you
leading
deserve
with his
to get
nose and
suckered.
chin. And then he just gets clocked by this mute. Was the other guy Russian?
No, it's Buddy Robinson.
No.
He played in the NHL.
Oh, okay.
I remember him
all
on
right, I missed
Calgary.
that
He's a
part.
mutant. He's huge.
Yeah. So Pannon was like knocked out. You see him kind of crumble. And then somebody else came and fought Buddy. And then Buddy dummied that guy too.
How many games did Buddy get for doing the magic trick sucker punch?
I haven't seen.
That's
yet.
what they're
Maybe
deeming
one.
it. Did it not look like he was doing like a card or magic trick in his hands?
He's like,
And
I'm
the
going to
other
pull
guy
some
was
Russian
getting
gas out of my glove. Bink.
All right, so that was the connection. That's the KHL news of the week. Da, 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 da.
But on the YouTube, check it out if you're listening on the podcast, because we're going to throw up this hit he threw on Murls. It'd probably be 20 games in the NHL. He blatantly sees you and skates and just runs you while on your knees, head into the dasher.
Yeah, I embellished a little bit before that, so I think that's why he was really maybe upset, but it was just totally uncalled for. I was having a great season. That was a season I was doing good too. Costed me a game there, but everything went well. People are mad at me on Twitter. I'm like, the guy deserved it. They're like, nobody deserves to get suckered. It's the same guys getting mad to fighting, like Rempe's fighting. Fighting's part of the game. It's not going to go away.
I don't know.
Yeah, Robinson, he got a fine, and they said his actions merited an apology, but he didn't get a suspension, didn't get disqualified or nothing. He went to Lake Superior.
Did he apologize? Like, did he send him a text or something?
Well, it's the article says his actions merited an apology. I don't know if he sent them a formal apology or fucking how that worked, but he didn't get sussied at all. Yeah, he played 62 NHL games over 6 seasons: Ottawa, Calgary, Anaheim, Chicago, and his brother's on the Sabres. Eric Robinson, that's his brother.
Okay,
He fought again. They played today. Buddy Robinson fought Yevgeny Timkin today.
I just looked at Panin or Panin, whatever you say his name. It's his 20th year in the KHL. The first 3 years in the league, it was just the Russian Super League, and then he's got like 15 seasons in the KHL.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because it was almost like he was doing that Apollo Creed thing when he's like sticking his face out, like daring to fucking punch him.
Yeah, not where you want it.
He fucking took the bait.
All right, I got to ask you about your team, and I deem him your team. Obviously, you have a future on him, but that doesn't narrow it down. But
not at all.
You always talk about the Preds in the group chat. You love Saros. You love what they got cooking down there. They're 8-0 since this whole ordeal of them trying to take ecstasy and acid at the Sphere. But then. Isn't that what happened? There's some shrooms or something, and then
RA loves him because he was going to be dealing them the stuff before the concert.
Oh no!
So when they got canceled, he lost a bunch of money.
Oh God, sorry, RA. Sorry to
That's
hear
all right, buddy.
But what about your team?
They had a terrible fucking game, and Barry Trotz and Andrew Burnett said, "So long to you two. You guys aren't going to U2 anymore." And then what did they do? They went on the road. They had their first ever 5-0 road trip. I mean, they didn't just fucking go on the road and win 5 games. They went into Vegas, beat them. Went into St. Louis, beat them. Went to LA, beat them. And then they got home, won their first 2 games at home as well. 8 in a row. Saros, he had a tough start, had a couple bumpy fucking sessions during the season, but right now, 6-0 his last 6 starts, giving up only 8 goals, .954 save percentage. Before the streak biz, they were 4 points out of the playoff spot. Right now, they have a 79.6 chance to make the playoffs per money puck. And they just got this, like the perfect blend of like youth and veterans right now. And again, obviously, Saros has fucking got his game back.
Brunette.
Absolutely. Yeah, Brunette. Yeah, he's kind of like, he's basically like learned from his whatever mistakes he's made. There was a good article about him in The Athletic, and just kind of, he just said, you got to talk to these guys different. There's no more dictators. You got to be a little more, soft with these players now.
Yeah.
And he's just been he's got the secret recipe right now. They just signed Tommy Novak also to a 3-year, $10.5 million extension. But this team, man, if you got Saros, biz, they can be a playoff spoiler, no doubt about it. Wouldn't surprise me at all if they went.
You forgot the most important part. In this 8-0 stretch, Mr. Puck Line Jesus himself, they've won every single game by at least 2 goals.
Yeah.
How much money would you have won if you'd been on the stretch of Puck Line with them? Like how much extra juice you get?
There were probably a couple plus 250, plus 300 nights on them on the Puck
Easily.
Line.
Murls, where have you been on this? Were you not on it?
I was on it once, and that was it. It's pathetic, but stay tuned later for my 2 plays of the week.
Okay.
Maybe something involved with the
But
Predators.
hey, listen, and it goes back to, we had a debate about this. Do you think they were being too hard on him? No, I didn't think they were being too hard on him. I would have just said, hey, we're going to keep going to this Sphere event, but let's fucking pick it up after. But I'm a soft pushover. And the old school ethics and mentality worked in this instance, and it's made them a fucking playoff team. So bravo to Trotz and everybody with the Nashville Predators. This is a sneaky team that you don't want to play against with a hot goaltender.
Yeah, can't argue with the results. Ryan O'Reilly, man, I remember he signed there the offseason. He's got 51 points in 62 games right now. He's been having an unreal season. Like I said, they just got this perfect blend of youth and veterans. And how about Ryan McDonough, man? What's he? 35, 36 years old, still getting it done out there. He's just a perfect, like, quintessential, like, defensive defenseman who also can throw a little offense in the game.
He's kind of like Tanev. I compared him. I said Tanev might be a little bit of a poor man's McDonough, but I feel like they bring the same thing. They're that good shot blocking, getting lanes, always making the safe play. So yeah.
Also, Nyquist. So Nyquist had those years in Detroit. He was a great player, and then they traded him to San Jose. They went on that little run, I think, in 2018. Signed with Columbus, and the tough years in Columbus, and then he's on the Wild. And it was kind of almost like when Nashville signed him this summer, I was like, I don't know what he has left in the tank. He's been awesome. And Ryan O'Reilly is just a hell of a leader, great player. Like we've talked about him nonstop for years now. But it all comes back, not to Saros, but Yossi for me. Like, he got his Norris Trophy, had that 95-point season or whatever it was, but like, even if he's getting 60, 70 points, and I'm saying even, like, that's still an incredible year. It doesn't even have to be that record-breaking, like, out of this planet offensive season for him to just dominate games. Like, he is so good with the puck. First off, you can't hit him. You got those defensemen out there, like Lidstrom was like that. Like, you take runs at him, and he's just, even if you don't even think he sees you out of the corner of his eye, and he's just always dodging hits. He's snapping it up tape to tape. Possession-wise, like, he has the puck constantly. He's getting out of his own zone, carrying it all the time. And then on the power play, he has a cannon, and he's just awesome. The perfect player to really kind of not only, like, lead them right now, but get them out of the troubles they've been in. Like, he's one of those guys that you throw him on the ice, you got to play him a little bit more than you maybe want to, because every time he's on the ice, good things are happening. So he's just one of the best in the world at what he does. And that, is it Lausanne, RA? Remember him on the Bruins?
Yeah, Jeremy Lauzon.
He's turned into a big-time hitter in the NHL. Like, head up when this dude's on the ice. I read an article where he's talking about, like, I've just gotten better at the timing of it. And throwing a big hit, it's a skill, like, because the timing's everything. And you got to catch guys at the right time. You got to have your angles correct. And all of a sudden now, he's running people over. So it's a really cool team. It's funny. I look at their third and fourth line, like... Mark Jankowski, Tommy Novak's nice. This is just listed on Daily Faceoff. Luca Evangelista, Cole Smith, Michael McCarron, and Kiefer Sherwood. It's kind of like, but they're getting it done. And they're, you know what I mean? Like, you read a couple of the fourth line names, you're like, who are these guys?
Glad you brought it up. Hey, they're probably listening in the car right now. Ah, Jesus.
Well, we're talking about them.
Left us out of this.
Well, we're talking about them. And as maybe the fourth line guys, like, you're like, who are these guys? And now all of a sudden,
shout out to these nobodies.
They're having a hell of a run. So Brunette's obviously figured out a way to get through to these guys, and he's had success as an assistant. He got screwed over by the Panthers in a way. Like, he has that season and gets let go. But now he's got his chance again, and he's running with it. And Trotz, success just carries, it just follows that guy. I mean, he does it in Washington. He goes to Long Island. They go on these great runs in the playoffs. Now he's in Nashville, turning them around quick. So it's amazing to see. And Elliotte mentioned that they had Saros' name out there. And now they got to be thrilled that they didn't end up trading him.
Yeah, don't go on a losing streak before Christmas. He might cancel it. No gifts for your kids either.
Yeah, I think the trade talk, it was nothing really there. Trotz had said we're pretty safe in saying he's going to be here. I think, you got to do your job and hear out if they got a fucking deal that was going to blow him out of the water. But
well, they got the next Vasilevsky in the minors, so at some point he's going to get traded.
You better tell your old lady's water not to break. We've been on a 3-game slide here. Don't you be celebrating any kids coming on this world.
You can't name your kid till we win a game.
Yeah.
Fuck.
You love that Askarov, huh, Whit?
Buddy, this guy is unbelievable. You seen his numbers this year?
Yeah, he's an opposite hand guy, I think, right? I think he plays with the other hand.
I
just
know.
never can trust those goalies.
Freak.
Who's the last good one? Tom
Theodore.
Barrasso? Jose Theodore? Your whammy guy? Yeah, that's I don't know. I just can't trust him.
We'll see.
Trust it. Saturday, Washington center Evgeny Kuznetsov was cleared by the player assistance program to resume practicing with the team. Then, surprisingly, the Caps placed him on waivers. He did clear waivers, so he was assigned to Hershey. His first time in the AHL. GM Brian McLennan said on Saturday that was the whole plan from the get-go. He's set to be the highest salary player to ever lace him up in the AHL once he does play. He's got 17 points, 43 games. He's at the lowest output of his career, on pace for 32 points. He's got one more year left at $7.8 million AAV. His salary in real dollars is $8 million. Biz, how do you think this plays out with Kuznetsov? Does he stay in the minors? Do they bring him back up? Does he get traded and they eat some salary? How do you think it ends up?
I don't know how it's going to play out, but I think this is a prime example of a guy who was obviously poopy pants about his situation and then acted accordingly and kind of thought that he could just kind of do what he was doing and he would just remain where he was at. And they kind of probably got to a point where they're like, see you later. You know, if you think that, if you think the grass is greener, here's the American Hockey League. So go eat some soggy subs for a little bit. And I don't know. It also never came out as to why he wasn't happy in Washington, but this team is like, they've overachieved this year. I don't think anybody expected them to be even remotely fighting for a playoff spot, yet they are, with the fact that they had no production from Ovi in the first half of the season. And then Kuznetsov has been basically extinct. Like he's clearly not bringing any type of effort to where he gives a shit whether this team makes playoffs or not. So they're probably looking at from a mindset of like, I don't care that we're paying him whatever, 7.8 or 8 million bucks. I don't want his negative energy around our players who are younger and also helping us fight to try to even earn a playoff spot. So it's just a wild situation. I want to know what the fuck he's so upset about and to why he doesn't want to fulfill his contract in a place where he had success and won a Stanley Cup. It's more about the just like showing up and putting effort in for me, Whit. Like, I don't know about you, but like, it's like just not the way to handle yourself when you're making that much fucking money. And he got sent to the minors as a result.
Yeah, well, I mean, those pictures came out it was after they won the Cup, I think. And I mean, I think back when they won the Cup, man, you remember how dominating he was?
Yes.
Skates like the wind, so skilled. And yeah, I mean, you sign a huge ticket and you think it's going to be easy and you're into some bad things off the ice. And I mean, it just catches up to you. Now, his future's in his hands, dude. All right. You got two ways this can go. You go down the minors, you realize I fucked up. I'm down somewhere where I never thought I'd be. I got to turn it around. I'm going to work my balls off. I'm going to dominate in this league. I'm going to figure out a way to, obviously it's over in Washington, and I'll be somewhere else I can revive my career and get going again. Or he's like, I don't give a shit. I've made about $50 million. I'll go back and play for SKA or Seska, and I don't care anymore. So that remains to be seen, but I hope the guy's healthy. I mean, obviously he's got a problem or had a problem. And I don't think something like what he's been dealing with, like drug use wise, is going to be fixed in how quickly he was in the player assistance program. Like, that's a lifelong thing, battling an issue that I'm sure he's had for a while based on like the actual photo evidence we've seen. So, I mean, you don't want guys' careers to fizzle out the way his has. I mean, especially when you see somebody with that much talent, the way he could dominate a game, the Birdman celebration on his big goals. So I think that if he decides to like, all right, it's a reset button and this sucks and I'm down here ordering chicken parm subs that are warm and wet and soggy and then I'm driving to Wilkes-Barre for a Sunday 3-3, but I don't care. I'm going to get back to the NHL. Then I think he could get back to the NHL. I would guess, though, he ends up being bought out in the summer.
Yeah. Well, things can turn quick. You can go from, raising a cup with the Washington Capitals to looking at fake magic tricks in the KHL. So I don't know. It's your choice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got a second interview. I think it's time to send it over to Sebastian Aho, boys. Sound good to you, Biz, or what?
Awesome.
Yeah, let's do it. We talked to him up in Toronto a couple weeks back, so enjoy Sebastian Aho. All right, before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at Verizon Fios. You already know that Verizon is the network America relies on. But did you know you can get the network you want for your phone and your home? Get Verizon for both mobile and home and save. Listen, I moved into this place a couple years ago. I got internet from a company we're not going to talk about. It was terrible. I switched over to Verizon Fios. It's been unbelievable since. The boys used to goof on me for my slow internet. Nuh-uh. Those days are donezo.
Well, RA, there was a
Oh.
point, RA, where I felt like, and I remember exactly actually at your first apartment where we first started recording Chiclets, you were using your neighbor's Wi-Fi. So the fact that we have this elite Verizon Fios Wi-Fi now that has you cruising on StreamYard here just makes a producer's life super easy.
So good, so smooth, no problems whatsoever. You can make sure whatever it is that you're following, this year's Oscar movies, the hockey playoffs, the Shops football draft projections, it's all good, whether you're at home or not at home. And when you switch, get a great deal on iPhone 15 Pro, iPad, and Apple Watch SE. The network you want on the tech you love. Simply better together. Only on Verizon. Visit your local Verizon store to shop or learn more. All right, our next guest is one of the league's bright young all-stars. This Finnish forward was taken 35th overall by Carolina in the 2015 NHL draft and joined the team as a 19-year-old. He has since averaged nearly a point per game for the Canes, and he's here in Toronto for his third All-Star game. It's a pleasure to welcome to the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Sebastian Aho. Congrats on another All-Star game, brother.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. I read you're not going to be eligible to win the $1 million, though. It must piss you off a little bit, huh?
Yeah, what's the deal with that? What do you guys have to do during the skills competition?
Nothing. I mean, I don't think we have anything to do there. So, yeah, I think, to be honest, I like the idea that they try to, make this event better and create new stuff. But, I'm already here, so might as well,
That's what I said.
So that was his. So I liked it because I figured it would get guys so competitive without thinking what he said. Like, well, everyone else is just going to be like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. So, we all travel here, and only a few guys get to have a chance to win that money prize. But, yeah, whatever. It's, at the end of the day, it's all for the fans. So if the fans love it, it's then fair enough, but we'll see.
That's a great answer.
The
It's a very safe answer.
The thing is, though, the league picked 8 guys, and then the other 4, they're getting voted in by the biggest markets, right? So it was a little unfair. Amazing fans in Carolina. It's just different in terms of Edmonton or Toronto for the voting online.
Oh, yeah.
But I actually wanted to ask you a non-hockey question because the last few mornings there's been a place here called Othership, and we've been hooked up. It's sauna and then cold plunge back and forth just to re-energize. And being Finnish, our buddy Murls is telling us that's a part of the culture there, right?
Absolutely.
Did you grow up everyone you knew, all you're just jumping in the pond in the winter?
Yeah, that's even summertime the water doesn't get too warm.
It's still an ice bath.
Yeah, refreshing. But yeah, that's basically the way I like to do it. It's just steaming hot sauna, very, very hot, not and going in and out. So I know some guys like to sit there a long time and take time, but I usually just get it really, really hot and then kind of go in and out and take a cold plunge in between.
Some of the craziest teammates I ever had were Finnish, just the way they crank vodka. Now, when you're back home in the summer, will you have a boys' night on a Saturday and then Sunday it's hey, everybody hits up the sauna and doing the contrast? Is it like a bonding thing for the males?
The males.
I think it's just for the whole nation, not just the males. Yeah, I mean sometimes even the weekend nights in the lake house, you kind of spend the half the night in the sauna, and so I think it's pretty unique. Not a lot of other countries probably, or
we call it cock talk.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go with a little cock talk. Like Keith Yando.
He calls it that.
When I played with Keith Yando, I would be a healthy scratch, and I'd have my suit on after the game, and he'd be like, "Hey, take your suit off. We're going, a little cock talk in the sauna." So I would gear it out. I would grab beers, and I would go meet them after a big W on Saturday, especially.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I was honored to hear before we started recording, you said you listened to some of our shows. Now, which ones have you listened to, and which one of us has the worst takes, would you say, on the podcast?
Recently, I watched those golf things. I watched a few of the matches. I watched, obviously, you guys played Willie in Carolina.
How big of a choke job was that?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen him shank a shot?
No, that's so unlike him. So yeah,
the pressure.
Did it make you want to play us and be like, I know what I would have done in that moment, and it wouldn't have been fuck up and shank it like Dustin Williams?
I mean,
Mr. Game 7, mind you.
I couldn't believe it because I played a lot of times with him, and he's always clutch up. He clutches up every time. he's I'm usually his partner, and we more often than not we win. So maybe he just had a tough partner.
It was also it was a late in the round, right? We'd had the drinks flowing. So that always adds that different element,
I think Cole brought him down is what happened. He didn't have.
I told you, bad partner.
Exactly. He didn't have Aho.
Yeah.
Do you hang out with the alumni a little bit? Because like they have a great group of guys there. Like Bates Battaglia owns the one bar, and obviously I just mentioned Cole. Like, do you get to interact with these guys quite a bit?
You see him once in a while, maybe on the golf course or sometimes at the rink. But yeah, other than that, not really.
I got a question in terms of this weekend. We're hearing reports that everyone should be expecting an announcement for a World Cup of hockey. How exciting for you is that, right? To like be able to play best on best for your country, and like it's been a long time, so I'm assuming you're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that was growing up. That was my biggest dream, to play in the Olympics. And for Team Finland, winning something for your nation, that was always my, my Stanley Cup. Growing up. So, but yeah, obviously later on growing up, this Stanley Cup is it is like the biggest goal right now, but especially kids in Europe, and I feel like it's such a easy way to grow the game too, like watching your own country and best on best. I think it's great stuff. So I really hope we get to play best and best. And obviously for me, like I've already missed 2 or 3 Olympics in my age, so I obviously hopefully we can get it done.
We talk a lot, like when talking World Juniors and Finnish, the team and like the culture over there and the players, it's like they're always defensively responsible, right? And similar to Sweden in a way, but Finns are hard to play against. Like growing up, was that always something where it wasn't just offense and skills, and like from a young age, it's defensive side of the puck and being responsible in your own end? Like, was that always part of how you were raised playing the game?
Yeah, I would say probably after age of, 15, 14, then you like really, you start bringing the system a little bit in there, and then it kind of, I think it's also like, it's 50-50. It's part how like we've been taught to play the game, but half of it's probably just like how we are as
hardworking people.
Yeah, and like just, I would say like team first, like, you don't want to.
That's taught from a young age there.
Yeah, definitely.
Like no one's above the team. It's all that's pretty cool.
And sometimes there was like before, guys like Barkov and Laine and that are kind of like our generation. I was thinking about that, like why we don't have guys like who really step up. And I was thinking about like, is that the issue? Like everyone kind of like a team guy. Like we don't really have those superstars. But I guess now the new generation has, we have a really good players who plays, in the top, roles in the top teams. So I think it's we've done something right as a country for sure.
Yeah. What was the development? Like you said, around 14, 15, that's more when the systems are being implemented.
Yeah.
Or is it more skill based before that?
Yeah.
And like, what's your guys' like summer program? Like, did you play with like a club team growing up? Like, how did your life cycle in hockey work?
Yeah. So basically you play for your hometown, and there you go through the juniors, and you hope at the end you can make the top or the in the Finnish league team. And it's just very easy. Like after school you go to practice, and everything works pretty flawlessly.
It all comes from the top team down, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's, everyone wants to make it to the top team, and you just start from the whenever you start, whatever. But like every year, just go to the next level, and then
and your town owns your rights. Like that's just kind of how it went.
No, you can, if you want to leave, you leave, right? But
okay.
It's just how. I was very fortunate to have, probably like one of the top organizations in the whole country, and very good players around me. So to me, it was no brainer always just stick to that system. And being in that organization.
Had anybody like who had like ever played in the league and like, maybe a Hall of Famer played in the organization that you did in Finland? Like who were the NHLers before you that laid the foundation that maybe you looked up to?
Pekkarinen, Jussi Jokinen,
Shootout master. He was coaching the World Junior team too, I think.
Yeah. He was, great hockey mind. Joni Pitkänen, he's from there. So, but I probably say Rinne and Jokinen, they, I got to, work out with them later when they were back in their careers. We skated together and kind of show us young guys how it's done and all that stuff. So I think it was pretty good.
You coming up, like, were you always kind of the best player or like 10 and 11, 12, or did you have a big jump at one point when you were a teenager? Like, what was your kind of career arc like in terms of being dominant or actually kind of being one of the lesser guys and just working and getting better and better?
I'd say like early on, I was probably one of the top guys.
Yep.
Age of, 17, year before draft, I probably had my worst year, like in terms like I thought like I wasn't the top guy anymore, maybe
really?
in the national team and stuff like that. And I played only like a half a season in the top team and played some of it in the juniors, and they kind of tossed me around there. So it was kind of a tough year, but
yeah, especially the draft year, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I want to go high, so you're kind of battling both.
To be honest, I never thought about that.
Really?
Yeah, back then it was more simple life. You just played hockey.
I know.
Kind of like
You didn't look into like going first round or being a top pick at all?
Not at all. I mean, I knew like it's not really like something I just want to play hockey, like it's that stuff comes, it's great. And like, I never like had it wasn't that important to me to be in a first rounder, to be honest. Like I knew, I thought it would be cool to be in a first rounder, but like I never like stressed about it or thought about it. So
is that a personal trait?
It's a good thing.
Yeah. You seem very calm demeanor. Like
I don't know.
I think stress in your life.
No, I think I definitely stress about hockey these days more. Like obviously you get paid more, you get all that stuff, so it adds up. Like
Thanks, Montreal.
All right, thanks, Biss.
The
cheap guys in Carolina matched it though.
They said we're matching anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I still love the game. I love everything about it, but it's just it's different for sure. Like, you have more expectations and all that stuff. So it brings a lot of stress.
You got to be nice though if you're playing in Carolina. If you go on like a 3-4 game pointless streak, like you're not hearing it. Like that's probably a real big advantage. Like the fans are like crazy and they're passionate, but yeah, you're not dealing with the media circus to cause even more stress. Because you look at some of these guys in other places, it's difficult.
Yeah,
you have that added pressure of media.
I'm sure it is. Obviously, I haven't ever experienced that, so I can't really tell how it is. But heard a lot about it, so I believe you.
We got to interview Rod Brindamore at the All-Star game last year. Me and RA did. Biz was in one that day.
I was up till 8 a.m. Having a real good time, and then by 10 o'clock I asked two questions in an hour interview. I looked bug-eyed like Rod does, but
he's just like this the whole time.
Yeah.
But it was cool to talk to him, and like he's so intense, right? So I imagine as a coach, it's probably nice to know that like this guy not only has your back, but like he just cares so much about winning that every day like he's showing up prepared. He's in the gym before you guys. Like, how's your relationship with him?
It's great. I really love playing for him. He's fair. He's tough. He expects a lot, but he's at the end of the day, he's very fair. It's all he asks is like just put your body out there and work as hard as you can, and do your best job. Right? You can, right? So like it's very simple. He pushes us a lot, but and I think it's in a good way, in a fair way, and like I said, is, I mean, me and him, we have a great relationship.
We talk a lot, sorry, Biz, just quick, like about Carolina and playing man on man in the D zone, right? Like it's a hard thing to do. Like you got to be good skaters, you got to be really trusting each other. But for
I'd
you,
have a hard time.
like at the beginning, was it tough for you? Like, do you enjoy it now? I'm guessing it's sometimes it's like it gets your guys' transition game even better when you're causing those turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously played that system for a little while now, so really don't think about that stuff anymore. You just play. But yeah, I think it's just there's a lot of ways. There's a lot of systems, but you know how you can play hockey, and I think it's just more that you get all 20 guys to commitment, buy in. So I think that's probably the main thing. And
For a new guy to come over, how long is it usually taking them to adapt to that? Because some guys have never played that style before, and maybe you guys have a little bit of a chuckle on video when you get a new guy and he's just getting exposed the first 5 games.
Yeah,
he's got his fucking head on a swivel the whole time.
He's in training camp.
He's like, what the hell's going on? He feels like you're fucking Saving Private Ryan. The beach scene.
No, it'll take some time, for sure. Actually, that's pretty funny to say that. I don't want to sue anyone.
No, do it. Come on, you got to say it.
I mean,
it's got
Michael Bunting. It was so funny early on. I mean, he's good now. But like, first month is probably.
And he was even struggling a little bit offensively where he's gotten back up to pace, and he's actually been a lot better the second half of the first half of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's been playing good for us. But yeah, it's just a few of those meetings, like you said, Bonds' head wasn't on the swivel. So it's good.
That is so funny. Is it nice having a guy on your team who stirs it up like that? We call it like dragging your team into the fight, where maybe some games get a little bit like lethargic, where it just seems like he'll be, mixing it up with the blue paint and being a pain in somebody's ass, chirping.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I hated him, like playing against him, and just, brings that good, he's such an emotional guy. I feel like
the swings.
He can have like the best shift in his career, and the next shift he could break his stick. I'm like, what is going on here? But no, it's all good. Now that I know that guy, I pretty much know what they expect. But I think it's good. Have, like you said, like not all the games go your way, and sometimes that gives a little spark when one guy goes in there and throws the, he's out there and like in front of the net, kind of being crazy guy. So it gets guys going.
When you came over, like, how was your English? Was that like really hard at the beginning? I mean, it's great now, but must have been a tough like jump when you came over here originally, and boom, you're in the NHL.
Very hard. Takes a lot of energy to process everything, and then just get to know the guys. Probably the best thing that happened to me. A couple of the Swedes invited me to play cards on the plane. So that's so casual. You just like throw cards out there, and you're not thinking about it. You're just always having conversation kind of thing. So that I remember after that year, my English kind of got better, and ever since I don't have to think about that so much.
So I was gonna ask like if it was TV or anything, but it was more just talking to the boys that it just slowly became like easier.
Yeah,
cock talk.
Yeah,
cock talk.
Exactly.
Sebastian, tough ending for the squad last year. You guys left it all out there. Florida was just unbelievable. Bobrovsky was unbelievable. What kind of message did Rod have for the team after such a tough end of the season when you guys left it all out there?
Yeah, it was a tough series. Obviously, got swept, but was it 3 OTs, and
it's crazy.
Every game was like 1-goal game, and obviously Florida definitely earned it and deserved to win the whole series. But it was just so weird. Like, it was the feeling in the locker room, like we just got swept. Like, that's crazy that like we were right there in every one of those games. But that's how hockey works. Just you have to, when you have those opportunities, just try to make best of it. And obviously we have a good team again this year, and same core. We've been through quite a bit already. So I really hope that one of those experiences like we've gone through, that's one of them, that they're gonna help us in the future.
It was funny. The internet had a blast with Rod saying like we didn't get swept when you did, but you make a good point. Like it wasn't like
that series could have been 3-1 you guys. I watched the whole thing. We covered it, right? And it was just it seemed like a late game bounce here, just like Bobrovsky standing on his head. I think every game was a 1-goal game, and it was very low scoring too, right?
Yeah, it was very low scoring. Both goalies played. Freddie played unreal for us, and obviously Bobrovsky for them. So yeah.
What does Brent Burns bring to that?
I was going to say, what did you think when this guy showed
What
up?
about the backpack? The friggin' backpack.
He has literally everything you ask. Like, Burns is going to have, like, you name it. I don't know, like, it's some crazy stuff. Like, oh, yeah, I got two
What's the most random thing you've seen come out of the backpack?
An animal.
No, I think it's pretty weird that he has, like, I don't know, he's having, like, obviously, probably half of it is like recovery stuff, like legit stuff, like Normatex and all that. But then he brings his coffee makers, his own coffee. Sometimes he has some meats, probably like I don't know if he have guns in there, but like
have you tried
beef jerky?
Yeah, beef
I'm a
jerky
big
for
coffee
sure.
guy. Have you tried his coffee? Is he a coffee snob?
I've tried it like for one sip, but guys who had like a full cup, they say that it goes right through you. So
Oh, it's like a
Is
creatine
that what
coffee.
his coffee's meant to do? Like just clean out your tubes?
I have no clue.
Or is it just maybe because it's so caffeinated? I don't know. I don't know that much about coffee, but I heard that he really likes his like organic beans.
He's big into that stuff.
Were you one of the guys who got to golf with Harry Styles?
Yeah.
What?
No
buddy,
shit.
that guy he's a mega ship. He's like Taylor Swift. What was that like? And what kind of a guy was he?
First 2 holes, probably pretty, it was kind of, probably a little awkward.
Were you intimidated?
I mean, I was, yeah. I mean, a little bit. But yeah, it was, but like by the whole 3rd hole, you know, like we all had like a couple bad shots and we, you know, started throwing clubs and all that, like golf stuff, you know. Golf is such a great game for that because like it doesn't matter who you are, like you always do the same stuff.
And you hit bad shots no matter who you are.
Exactly. And actually after that it was great. We you know, got to know him a little bit and asked a lot of questions about his life. And funny enough, he was asking, you know, a lot of questions from us too, like how's our life for you know, professional athlete. And it's actually a lot similar what they have, kind of like artists. Those guys, they have the travel. They have like
they can relate.
Yeah, exactly. So it was pretty cool.
He probably needed some tips from Brent Burns about recovery. Like if you've ever seen one of his shows, he's just sprinting up and down, shaking it for the ladies. He's got every girl in the crowd throwing their bra and panties at him. Have you seen any of this Harry Styles stuff?
I've seen just like his outfits and stuff. It's just like rock star stuff.
Would you ever wear some of the stuff that he wears?
No, I couldn't.
You'd never throw a dress on or nothing?
No,
Well, no, I'm saying if GQ called and they're like,
yeah,
hey,
no, I'm not like, I'm pretty actually lame when it comes to like, I'm always wearing pretty, just nothing too flashy.
I think the boys back in Finland will probably give you a little shit if you were dressing GQ.
RA, would you put on like lingerie if they said you were going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine?
I'm listening. I'll hear it. I'll hear an offer. Yeah,
You know, like a bondage outfit with like a gag ball. Would you do that? for Rolling Stone?
Buffalo Bill style.
Every man has his price, Bill Paul. So
RA had a Playboy subscription when he was 13. Subscription.
yeah, I did. Yeah, it was. I had an opportunity, so I took it. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
What is that? What do you?
Playboy is like a
Yeah. I know, but what was?
he had a subscription when he was 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Is that odd?
That's a little odd.
Yeah, that's fit. I'm a little odd too. That's how it works out.
Do they even have like magazines like that in Finland? Like what's
Playboy,
sure
yeah,
they do.
they had Playboy International. They must have had a Finnish version back in the day. I would
Okay.
imagine. Yeah, I would think so. I never saw an issue of it.
Well,
but
I like what are the biggest cultural differences you'd say? Like I know the Finnish guys I played with, they were obsessed with heavy metal music.
Yeah.
Is that a stereotype or
I think it's still big. I don't really listen at all. Especially, I would say like couple, I don't know, 20 years ago, probably 10 years ago, it was very big. I think it's now it's the top chart, like on the Spotify, and everyone listens to the same music kind of thing.
you get sucked into it too, the algorithm?
Yeah.
Are you listening to all the top 100 or whatever?
Well, I do listen to some Finnish music still, but over here I think I'm actually getting a little bit more in the country music too. So I'm actually
It's been
I'm
talking
going
about this.
all over the place with the music.
What's your theory? It's like the only good music out right now.
Yeah, there's not much like good new music besides the country music. You know, we got the Morgan Wallen, Zach Bryan, that
Luke
stuff.
Combs. I feel
Luke
like there's
Combs.
a big come up of a lot of.
Whereas like there's not other good original music. Like but before the game, like if you're getting fired up, like you listen into rock, rap, or country. Is it anything?
It's probably like anything. It's rap or EDM.
EDM. Okay, yeah, that's what I like before. Who's got the aux cord in the room?
Who's got it? Nitch's had it for a while. Bonds had it for a while, and then
Hunting's music.
Bippy and Lemieux had it.
That's pretty early for a guy to take over the locker room music. So has Bunting with his personality fit right in, given the emotional swings? Is he kind of the court jester where everyone's like, oh my God, this guy's a maniac.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's fit right in. I think Nietzsche was hurt for a little while, so need a new guy, and he stepped up. So yeah, it's.
And then when Nate came back, did he take it back over? That could be an awkward relation. It's like basically power play one. Like, you know, you're getting mad about
my spot.
You're going into Rob's office or Rod's office, excuse me, and arguing about who's got the aux cord.
Yeah, I want to say he did took it back, but I'm not quite sure. It's pretty much the same music, so can't tell.
You get drafted to Team Nathan McKinnon. I don't know if you talked to him yet about any particular guys you want to play with. I know Crosby's on the team, Kale McCarr, Kaprizov. Any guys you're psyched to get out on the ice with?
I mean,
All of them?
yeah, exactly.
Really, yeah.
pretty good lineup there. No, it's all of those guys, but probably especially McKinnon on what level he's playing this year. It's unreal. So hopefully get at least one shift with him.
Have you played in Colorado yet this year?
Yeah, I didn't play that game.
Oh, really?
He's
In Colorado right now, he's like, just stay away from him.
Yeah,
At home, at least, everywhere, I guess. But
yeah, he's been pretty. That's
what's
pretty
it like
unreal.
going against him? Like, what's your mindset going to a game? Just stay above him, like just try to hit him in as much as
like
possible?
any top player in the league, you know, I want to take the space away. You take the time and space away, and I think, but yeah, I think centers go against center, but like at the same time, like I think forwards go more. The matchup is against the D, and then. So I don't really have to worry about too much of the forwards, right? I pretty much worry about their D core, but as a center, yeah, you want to probably be aware who you out against and just try to. I think the best way to kind of kill the skill is take time and space away.
kill the skill. I like that. Never heard that.
Does Rod say that in the room? Is that what he says?
I don't think so.
No.
No.
I
just came up with it.
Heateds with them, like battles where maybe you're having like a bit of conflict from like I don't know, say a systems perspective or a play here or play
Me
here.
personally?
Yeah, like I mean, it's healthy to have some fuck you matches once in a while.
I haven't had really any issues with them ever. So yeah, I wish I could give you a better answer with them.
No,
That's
it's
the
good.
truth.
No, it's good.
That's the truth. Yeah.
That's a healthy dynamic. It's a good thing.
I mentioned it was your third All-Star game. Has it been a lot crazy here where it's in Toronto, just so many more people in the hockey world around? Has it been a little almost overwhelming at times?
I mean, yeah, it's well, you kind of knew it when you signed in Toronto, so
Like this shit with us.
yeah, you expect that, all that stuff. But yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I think so far it's so good.
What was I going to ask you? So growing up, like, did your dad get you into the game? Did you have brothers and sisters you played against? Like, what was your kind of like intro to hockey? Your parents or guys from your town?
My dad for sure.
He was a player himself?
Yeah, he played. He played pro. He played in a little bit in Sweden, and
okay.
I was in Finland, and yeah, I grew into hockey. I loved watching him play, and obviously after one game, he took me in the locker room, and there's nothing better in the that feeling in the locker room after win.
See all the guys.
Yeah, exactly. Just walking there, like I was such a man, like probably just 4 or 5 year old, and I was walking there like I owned the place, and it was just I definitely just grew into loving the game.
So I know the cases for me, and I know playing with Sid, like after games, you're talking to your dad. Like it's just been that way your whole life. Obviously, he's in Finland. Are you talking to him after most of your games? Like he's obviously like your biggest critic, your biggest fan. So are you still involved with talking about like your actual game with him?
Yeah,
That's cool.
I think it's crazy that he's. I think he's watched every single game except one.
Wow.
My NHL career,
And it's 1 a.m. when they start, right?
2 a.m. Yeah, usually, and that was because he was flying to Raleigh to watch, come see me. So he missed one game. He's probably pretty pissed about it. But I don't know how he does it. He obviously it's middle of the night, and he always waits me to text after the game. Too.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So he's definitely been my, biggest supporter, and the whole reason probably, or because the reason why I even play hockey and all that. So I actually we have a great relationship when it comes like that.
So you just chop it up after, and after a game, you'd say, I thought you were weak at this, and maybe let's work it out in practice moving forward, like stuff like that, like going back and forth and chiseling away your game.
Yeah, it's not like that anymore. Like growing up, he probably was commenting more like how should I play. Now it's more just like
Support system.
Yeah, support system. He doesn't really. He was a stay-at-home D. So what do you? He can't really tell me how to score a goal, right? So, but no, it's definitely more just the support system.
You weren't great in the dot last night.
Have you like, Dad, you were off the glass and out every night. Leave me alone.
Have you even snapped the drawback, Dad?
Do you have a friendly rivalry with the other Sebastian Aho, the defenseman? Yeah, just like look at each other, maybe eyeball each other up and down. Like which one's the better Sebastian Aho?
I know.
I thought it was funny when we first played, like when we were like 15, but like obviously we played against each other a lot of times in national teams. So by the time we were in the NHL and all the fans and media noticed it was kind of.
Your same age?
He's a year older, but I was playing a year older.
Okay.
The national team, yeah.
So you're sick of answering that question,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That
'Cause,
was
like
a nice way of saying it. All
You
right.
guys ever hang out, like shoot the shit, just have a laugh because you have the same name, or just all the? I don't know. It was like sitting.
No, not really.
Bro, sick
Yeah.
name.
I don't know.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yeah, great job, buddy.
yeah, not really.
No, I like it. All right. RA's a goof.
There's not so often you meet someone who has the exact same name as you from a different country.
RA just came out with a movie. He was in a movie. What was you were a Zamboni driver?
Zamboni driver, yeah.
He's he's done Shoresy. Have you ever seen Shoresy?
Never seen it.
It's like a spin-off show from a show called Letterkenny, and this Canadian guy named Jared Kiso created it, and it's based around hockey and all the silly things that happen in junior. So RA's kind of been on an acting mission lately.
Yeah.
So you have to check those out.
Can't state, so I get into hockey movies and TV, so
There
I
you
get there
go.
somewhere.
He usually asks the guests what you watch and consume. Like, are you a big Netflix guy, or like, what do you watch on television?
I watch. Well, I actually pretty much every night before I go to bed, I usually put like it's just a show on the TV or on the phone, just like something old like I've seen 1,000 times, like Friends.
To fall asleep?
Yeah, exactly.
Friends is your show?
One of them is Friends.
You like Ross?
I like.
I hate Ross.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, actually. But
That's Johnny Gaudreau's favorite.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
That's when I was like, Jesus, Johnny Ham and cheese.
Yeah.
Ross?
But yeah, I watch pretty much everything. But I usually have like few of those shows that I don't really have to pay attention too much. I just like put them on and kind of relax that way.
You got a good vacation spot, right? Like sometimes the European guys are going to Barcelona, or like where do you go on vacation when you're back home in the summer?
Ooh,
Or your favorite spot to go?
favorite spot. I do like Italy, but I still there's so many places you want to see. So I'm a young guy, so I kind of like to switch it up.
You like traveling though?
Yeah, I do like.
Someday when you're done playing, you'll be traveling a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you? I mean, obviously, you're in the middle of this amazing career, but like sometimes you think about like things like I could see myself coaching. I'd like to be in management. You ever even thought of anything post career? Or is it just right now it's all hockey?
I was going to ask him, if you didn't play hockey, what would you do?
Oh, I like that.
Ooh, what would I do? I would probably. Yeah, I didn't really have a backup plan. I was like, I was
I'm gonna make it.
pretty much all in for hockey.
No, that's a good mindset.
Yeah, I wasn't bad like in school or anything but it's just I always just thought like I'm gonna play hockey and I guess it worked out for me. And what could I be? I don't know. Honestly, I could not see myself in an office job or any of that. I think I'm pretty active guy. So
If you weren't in Toronto this weekend, where would you have gone on vacation for a few days off?
I was in Mexico. I came. I went for 4 days and
Where do you go
there you
there?
go.
Cancun.
Nice.
I was.
That's where you go, right? Or you go
Oh,
Cabo?
I go to Cabo. You ever been to Cabo?
I never been to Cabo. I've heard very good things.
Yeah, Cabo is like,
Yeah.
it's a little bit drier. Kind of like my throat right now. But yeah, it's like that desert heat, but then the ocean's there. They got good surfing. The water's a little bit dangerous, but like, I don't know. I think over the last 10 years, like per capita, it's got the most billionaires on the earth. Like the most billionaires have residency there where you go there any big week or weekend, like there'll be, 250, 300 private jets in the airspace. So it popped off. I think it's got the most like 6-star or 6-diamond Michelin restaurants and stuff. So I don't know why people are going there or flocking there, but
because you started going.
because I started, yeah.
That's how it is.
Any guys you're looking to catch up with this weekend? Maybe old friends or guys you haven't met yet?
I mean, not really. I mean, I guess you just hang out there. I think that's one of the cool parts about these events. You get to know all the great guys and great players. So and yeah, just hang out with them.
Last thing for me is it's been tough to watch and see like Freddie Anderson, right? He's battling and have the guys tried, like hanging out with him? Because oftentimes you're injured, you don't feel a part of the team, right? Like, have you guys been staying on him, keeping him positive at least?
Yeah, at least he's been around.
Okay,
he's been working out there, which is great to see. And he's been in a good mood, given the circumstances, obviously. And now that he's cleared, I'm sure he's full of energy and kind of. I think it's just awesome to see that he's already, come this far.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on.
I just got a couple more. The Fendi shoes. Are you a big fashion guy?
Oh,
Do you follow the trends? Like, did you see Louis Vuitton drop with Pharrell? Did you see that collaboration? Do you follow that on Instagram?
No, I don't follow that, but I've been trying to be a little bit better. Just catch up on the trends and. Yeah.
Is that because you're like a single guy and you kind of
not a single guy?
You got a girl?
I have a fiance. Yeah.
Fiance,
Yeah.
and you're getting married this summer coming up.
The next.
where's the wedding?
I don't know. It's got engaged in during the Christmas. So
Oh, just recently.
yeah, just recently.
Congrats.
Thanks.
RA's an ordained minister. If you need a guy, we'll give it to you free of charge as compensation for this interview.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me doing any vows for
Steal
you.
one of your sticks or something. But he'll do a great service.
Yeah.
Well, this has been great. I don't know if you have any more guys.
No, it was silly. It was fun chat with you, buddy. We hadn't yet, and you're a hell of a player, and you guys got a great team, and I wish you guys luck. I think that this year could be the year you guys get over the hump, because normally you guys come fucking flying out of the gate.
Yeah.
This year you guys stumbled a little bit, but you guys are finding your groove right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much to Sebastian Aho. Hell of a player. We appreciate him coming in, sitting down with us at Gretzky's basement. But I got to go out to Alberta, my Edmonton Oilers, on a nice little run again. They had a tough loss on a hockey night in Canada to the Flames on February 24th. And then they came back, huge win at home against the Kings. Awesome comeback win against the Blues with McDavid getting a sweet OT winner. Then they beat Seattle, and then they just smashed the Penguins. So that's 4 in a row. We're very, very close. I know we're 9 points away from Vancouver, but 4 games in hand. The Pacific is not done. The Oilers could still win that division, no doubt. But who else do we talk about but Zach Hyman? I mean, guys, 7-year deal at 5.5. That's coming off, I think he had 15 goals that last year in Toronto. He was injured. And then 2 years prior, he had 21 goals both years. So a lot of people at the time were saying, what the fuck? $38 million. This guy's most goals ever is 21. He's on pace for 59 goals this season. And every single one of them is in the crease. if you want to score goals, you go to the net. But nobody who's ever uttered that cliche in the history of hockey has imagined anyone doing it the way Hyman's done it. And yeah, all you haters out there could say he plays with McDavid. Okay. Well, dude, he's banging them home anyways.
It's a skill set.
It's a skill set. And this guy, I can't believe the Maple Leafs let him go. Because it's not just like, obviously, he set career highs each season in Edmonton. Like, it keeps going up. I don't think he'll be able to smash this year, whatever this ends up at next season. But, dude, it's not just the goals. He's fast as hell. He works his bag off. He's great defensively, hits everything that moves. He's always a pain in the ass in front of the net. And it's just been one of the, this sounds crazy. It's been one of the all-time free agent signings. You can't put it any way other than that because he nonstop is scoring goals in the dirty area, in the mixer, as Murls likes to say. So, Biz, in terms of your Leafs, like looking back, it's kind of, I think you tweeted out he's the one who got away.
Yeah, he's the one who got away. That's such a cheap cost for what he delivers.
And I don't think Toronto could have given him, he probably would have taken less.
And nowadays, those types of guys are so far and few between. I just talked about New Jersey. What do you think that they paid Timo Meier to be that guy for them? $8 million. He's making $5.5 million, and he's going to put up 50 fucking goals. So it's more about just like, yeah, I get that McDavid's able to find ways to get the puck to that area of the ice more than anyone in the league. And dish so in a way that guy's going to be able to benefit from it. But listen, I haven't played with too many guys with that type of skill set. A few guys maybe at the NHL level. I thought Martin Hansel was great in front of the net. I played with a guy in the American League, Michael Mersch. He was on our Calder Cup winning team where it just felt if you put it to the net, he just found a way to like scoop it up and get it in and beat the goalie. And if you seriously added up every one of his goals that year, as far as distance that he scored from the goal line, I don't think he would have reached center ice just the way Zach Hyman does it. So it's crazy. Like you do the overhead view chart of where these goals are coming from. Every single one is in the crease. There's like 3 outside of the crease. There you go. Look at that. Look at it. You can't even see the net or the crease. It's just fucking all the goal dots. So it's remarkable, and it's Holland's best move. And one that helps the Nurse contract maybe not look so bad if you look at it from that standpoint. They kind of even themselves out.
Also in Alberta, Mika Kippersoff was back in Calgary. His number 34 was retired Saturday night. The Saddle Dome, just the 4th Flames number to head to the rafters. Lanny McDonald, Jerome McGinley, Mike Vernon are the other 3. His 305 wins, most in franchise history. 319 wins, second most ever by a Finnish goalie after Pekka Rinne. He won the Vezina in Jennings back in 2006. 74 games he played that year. 42, 20, and 11 with the 207 goals against, 923 save percentage, 10 shutouts, led the league. Just an incredible season he had. Also franchise all-time leader for games played, saves, goals against average, save percentage, ice time, and shutouts. And Murls, I'll go to you on this one. He was at the forefront of this, like sort of first wave of Finnish goalies, right? You had, Vesa Toskala, UC Markkanen, Nicholas Backstrom, and he was one of these guys that kind of like sort of paved the way for all these Finnish goalies, huh?
Yeah, he kind of got casted off by San Jose. He went up to Calgary and just stole the show. And the one stat I saw, he played 7 straight games of over 70 games or something crazy like that, which will never be topped again.
7 straight seasons of 70-plus games? Wow.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You'll never see that again.
He had like a 3-hour stretching routine before and after every game or something wild like that. This guy was a freak, but he actually played 1 year in Timrå. Once Timrå, always a Timrå. Elias Pettersson, Zetterberg, Murley, Kippersoff. But one funny story is all these Finnish guys were on the team that year, and it's the lockout, so they're all having a good time. The season ends. They're at this bar having a night. The owner's like, enough's enough. I'm out of here. Throws them the keys. You guys lock up. I'll see you tomorrow. Doesn't hear from him. He goes back in 10 in the morning, open up. He sees a bunch of feet underneath the tables. All the Finnish guys, like 4 or 5, just slept under the tables at the bar in Svenssons in Sweden. It was these guys, they had a good time.
I heard Kippersoff could hammer the cocktails, and he liked to get after it. He would hack darts with the fans during the cup run. Like he's just an overall legend. He was he with Daryl Sutter in San Jose? Is that who brought him to Calgary? Because in his speech, he was sitting down there where everybody was at, and he gave him a huge thank you for bringing him over and believing him when he was in Calgary. So I didn't know if that they crossed paths. I don't know if you can quickly look that up,
Yeah.
G.
Yeah.
Or RA.
He did have Sutter in San Jose first. Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of who like, when San Jose threw him to the wayside, Sutter had that experience and said, I believe in this guy, and obviously, he fucking did some incredible work for him, including he's probably most known for that year was 06. Was that before or after the lockout where he brought them to the run against Tampa Bay?
Tampa Bay, that was 04 before the lockout.
Oh, it was 04. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was the kind of the heater that he was on. But, just a guy's guy. He thanked Jerome McGinley. He had some great words for Conroy as well. So, thank that core group of guys he got to play with. And that was a special time in Calgary. And the last time they'd kind of had that revival since Landy McDonald won the cup there.
I loved how you got to see the kid. You remember the kid who used to dress up as him? He'd be in the stands with a painted-on beard, and he would do all the Kipper moves in the stands. And then he's so much older and grown up now. I guess he paints goalie masks for a living. So he presented Kipper with one that he did for him when he came back into town. And I mean, I was reading a good article in the Calgary Herald about him. It's all these guys who played with him, different memories of Kipper. All of them are talking. There's different parts of the article. All of them are talking about, I guess, his flexibility was out of this world. Like they're all Brian Boucher's in here saying the most flexible person I've ever seen in my life. So I guess the pre and post game routine you're talking about, Murls, makes sense. But do you remember Brent Kahn? He was like a high pick by Calgary. So he's telling a story. This part of the article is how he was just unflappable. Like I guess he never got rattled. He was just so cool and calm and collected. And so he says, I remember a game in Detroit in the second round of the playoffs. I sat beside him on the bus after they lost 5-2. I'm sitting beside him and he's telling me jokes, and they were funny. They were really funny. And it's a big loss. It's the playoffs. We just got smoked by the Red Wings, and I'm not even on the team really. I'm just here in case something happens. I mean, if Daryl sees me laughing, I'm in a lot of trouble, and this guy's killing me. I remember thinking to myself, they just got pumped 5-2, and he wasn't particularly great, and he's just back to his regular self, telling jokes, not giving a shit. And then the next game, he was first star, made 50 saves. So it just seemed like he was a guy based on this article that never really got rattled. And another funny part about the flexibility, and it's not in this article, is like you said, Biz and Murls, the legend behind Mika Kipper is that he drank. It's pretty old school hockey to hear about this legend getting his number retired. And one of the first things everyone says is how crippled he used to get.
Another thing, too, is they were worried about even doing this because he's known to just kind of not show up to things. He's very off the grid. And I think I mentioned it during the Elliotte interview, how he lived outside of town and he would just ride his tractor. At least that's what Commodore told me. So he's kind of just this guy who doesn't really like that attention, and just some unreal backstories as to who this guy really was.
Finns are amazing.
Yeah.
Finns are they go hard on and off the ice.
Yeah, the other part of it is like what was that word? Unflappable?
Yeah, that's a big one, Whit. I was like, unflappable.
Wow. Yeah, I guess I don't know where they were, but he got lit up 6 or 7 goals, and whatever team was had a catchy song each goal, like dun 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 or something like that. Somebody went back to the bus to check on him, see how he was doing, and he looks at him and he just started playing the song. He just didn't give a shit. He knew how to just turn it off and move on, which I wish I knew, and I wish a lot of players knew how to do that.
Well, congrats to Kipper anyways. Did you guys, I think one of the funniest clips we saw the last week, did you see when Steve Ott was on the bench and they happened to show his 2 kids on the Jumbotron?
Hey, all right, quick, before we move on. So Larry Korpikoski, he's a Finnish guy. He was at some gala in Finland one time. And I mentioned how he's hard to get a hold of, and he showed up to this gala, but everybody was dressed nice, and he had regular jeans on, a shitty shirt, and instead of a Von Dutch hat, it said Von Bitch.
Kippersov?
Kippersov. So that's just kind of the stories that was one that just came to mind too. So I hear what you're saying though, RA. That was a funny Jumbotron moment where Steve Ott was, I think it took him a second to clue in that it was his kid, right?
Yeah, he was looking up and he had a shirt off. He was going nuts, waving
the
over
kid
his head.
looks like an animal, just like Ott was.
Yeah.
And he looks up and when he catches it, you can see it reminded me like on Saturday Night Live when they tried out to break character. Like you could see he was like stifling a laugh a couple of times, but that was hilarious. Probably the funniest thing we've seen all week on a clip. But I want to send actually a couple local teams with Best Elect at Quincy College. They're at the AAU Division III National Championship in Westchester, Pennsylvania this week. So just the second year of the program, the Granite they're called. So good luck to those guys. Also good luck to Mass Maritime Academy as well. The Buccaneers are playing for the AAU Division II National Championship. So a couple local squads and a little send good wishes to. And also, I want to say get well to one of my oldest best friends, my guy, Paulie Myers. He's been a health nut for the last few years. He was doing his Sunday morning 5-mile run, and he collapsed at the end of it. And a woman come over, started doing CPR on him, called the an ambulance. They came, took him away. And it turned out this woman was on her way to her grandson's hockey game, and it turned out my buddy who collapsed, he coaches her other grandson on one of his teams. So kind of like the hockey world sort of, serendipitously kind of got together and saved my buddy's life. So just want to tell my buddy, Paulie, love you, pal, and I hope you get out of the hospital soon. He had to get triple bypass surgery. So I just want to send him my best wishes. And any other thoughts, boys, you want to share?
No.
Final notes?
Sorry about that, all right?
No, he's doing good, man. It could have been a lot worse. So I just special friend of mine. Just want to give him a little love.
Actually, right back over to you. Watch the vlog. It was the Stadium Series vlog on our Spittin Chiclets YouTube channel, and a little bit of behind the scenes of when we went and saw RA's the movies and the late game. So it was his debut, and we got to watch it. It was awesome. And also, RA, where can you find that? On Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime right now. You can rent it or buy it. Unfortunately, it's not in Canada yet. I'm sorry that it's not there. I guess it's going to be there soon enough. But right now, you can go to Prime, check it out, rent it, buy it, and let me know what you think of it if you do check it out.
All right, and check out the vlogs.
We also have another vlog coming out. We also have another episode of Chiclets TV coming out next Sunday, and that'll be behind the scenes of everything from Atlanta, the Chiclets cast. It's going to be awesome. So that comes out next Sunday. You can find that on all video platforms.
Awesome.
Nice.
Love it.
All right,
boys.
everyone.
Great
Have an
pod,
awesome
Murls.
week.
Yeah, I got a couple picks. I got a couple. Whenever I come on the main ship here, I got to give you guys a couple picks. This drops Tuesday morning, Tuesday night. 2 picks. Jets 3-way -110. Preds 3-way -130. Those odds are at DraftKings Sportsbook. See you Tuesday night. I'll be back in the U.S.
Great seeing you, Mur.
And
Great seeing you.
Mur, can't wait to see you again. Biz, good luck Friday, Sportsnet, trade deadline day. I think Game Notes will have something special going on. And next time we talk to you, we're going to have a lot to chat about because I assume in the next week we're going to have a bunch of deals or up until Friday. So, as always, thank you so much for listening. We love all you guys.
Breaking.
Oh, what do we got?
Hannafin to the Leafs.
Fuck
No.
off. See you, boys.
Wah, 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 wah.
Wow, folks. You thought this pod was over. We thought this pod was over. Biz, hell of a little joke for Hannafin to the Leafs with your breaking news little trick you had up your sleeve. But then we got hit
I was
with
being
some
silly.
we got hit with some real breaking news.
Oh, my God.
And it was that Frank the Tank, Pasha, and the rest of Devils Nation, their prayers were answered, and Lindy Ruff has been let go by Tom Fitzgerald and the New Jersey Devils. Initial thoughts, Biz?
Oh, I thought considering it taken this long that they were probably just going to wait to the off season as like maybe a respect thing. One of the factors we talked about on the panel the other night is like, I'm not in the organization. I can't see how hand in hand he's working with these younger players in order to maybe address the learning curve. One of the things lately, you saw it with Tocchet, and then also I believe Brunette made the comments of like learning from his past experiences and how to communicate with this next generation. I don't know if that communication was good and where it needed to be. Now, I knew it was more of a possibility the later it went that if they did do it, it's because they have Travis Green there, who was a former head coach. He coached Utica all the way to a Calder Cup final, finally got the job in Vancouver. Yes, it didn't work out there, but he's been floating around as a really good assistant ever since. I think it's wild to go back to last year where if like maybe the fan base isn't so aggressive off the hop, that there's never the uproar, and then therefore maybe the run they go on to then reward him with a 2-year extension. Because it kind of goes back to what just happened to Daryl Sutter. It's like they gave him the 2-year extension and like they don't even make it. They're just giving away the money. It's like a fucking cash for life ticket. So something needed to happen, but there are like so many flaws within the team right now. We talked about it being soft. They're young, man. Like Luke Hughes is going to be an amazing player, but he's obviously hit a wall. Like their decor without Hamilton is just so young and inexperienced, along with the fact that a lot of guys up front haven't ever dealt with this type of adversity before. Yes, the fucking goaltending is a problem, but look at how young they are too. They don't look at what happened this year in New York. Like if they didn't have a veteran and Jonathan Quick to lean on, like what if they had another young guy and both of them were fucking brutal? Like you never know what can happen. So having like older experienced guys around is important, especially in the goaltending position. And it just seems like a lot of things have been like put on an island. The youth have been exposed with, their softness has been exposed and their net's been exposed. And do I think that Lindy Ruff was the answer? No. I think the answer was Andrew Brunette, and they let him go.
That's what I was going to say, is seeing what Brunette's done. And granted, it's been in the last few weeks with Nashville, but you're like, oh my God, we had this guy who'd already done it in Florida, where now you got Green, who obviously is well respected and people really like him, but like he hasn't really had success at the NHL level yet with Vancouver as a head coach. Brunette had that Florida team buzzing, and obviously, the playoffs didn't go as it was supposed to, but he'd had the success. He's there, and you give Ruff the extension. But at the same time, like they had that amazing turnaround. I mean, they were chanting fire Lindy first game of the season last year.
Yeah.
And then you go on this run. Now, what's shocking to me is two main things. And the Devils fan we know who will not be named, he said this before the season. Graves and Severson were big losses. And they're not amazing players, but they're veteran defensemen who know how to play the game. They're better with turnovers than a lot of these young guys. The speed of the game, they know how to play a long, full season, right? So Hughes has looked great, Nemec's looked great, but Hamilton went out, and then you don't have Graves and Severson after they moved on. You're like, we're in one right now.
Ball ain't fucking old either. He's young.
Ball's in Edmonton right now.
He's struggling.
But Biz, here's the other thing. If you play 61 games, you give up the first goal 45 friggin' times.
There you go.
Like, that is where, as much as I say, oh my God, the guy's got young D and horrible goaltending. The worst goaltending in the league, I think, combined. Yeah, how is this on the coach? What's on the coach is preparing these guys and getting them ready to go. And if you're going down 1-0 in 75% of the games, it's an uphill battle. I don't care how much we talk about being down 3-0 early in the current NHL. You're not out of the game. It wears on you. Because what happens is guys start forcing plays. Like, oh, we're down again. And then another turnover happens. And then all the momentum's against you and you're losing 1-0. So it's like at a certain point, Fitzy said, and I was saying before you hopped on, I wonder if it was one of those similar to Edmonton instances when they lost to San Jose. They actually went and beat Seattle, but they fired Woodcroft anyways. It might have been that Anaheim loss where Fitzy said enough. But looking at
or getting fucking worked by the Kings on national television.
The working by the Kings,
and then you got Mike Krusty ass chirping him, and it's like, all right.
And the pull the goalie and not put the extra man out, that was the noose.
You think
the
that
noose
was
went
it?
around his neck.
That was it, eh?
When Jack Hughes is holding the puck in an NHL game, looking at the bench, I think that Fitzy might have had
that was worse than me scrapping at center ice 5-on-3. Looking back, the look that Nettie Haven gave, that was worse.
Now, fans also talk about the Holtz, like the Holtz situation.
Yeah,
he's not getting ice time. He's getting benched, and like, yeah, Jack Hughes has become this incredible talent the last few years with Lindy Ruff. Jack Hughes was going to be an incredible talent with Frank the Tank behind the bench.
Yeah,
I'm not going to give Lindy Ruff credit for Jack Hughes developing into a superstar. That was bound to happen.
Yeah,
but if you look at Holtz, I that's one thing where this guy's got skill. You're going down early in games. The guy's scoring goals, getting benched. It's like, as a fan base, you're like, put him on the ice. So
and for the little amount of ice he was getting, he was actually putting the puck in the back of the net. He was a pretty opportunistic player with what he was given. And Listen, I don't know if I just got by the internet. It happens a lot. Actually, I think it was a Bruins fan who got me with the fake quote by Chara saying Lindgren is his favorite player to watch.
That was fake?
Oh, it was fake. And then the count, all the count who tweeted it and the minions were like, we got you.
You said that last week, right? I was like, no shit.
Hook, line,
I think
and
I
sinker.
left the pod. I'm like, I can't believe Chara said that.
But what was I just gonna say? What did I get got with? Oh no,
You got with something on the internet.
Oh no,
I don't know.
God, I forgot it.
Did you just read something that made you laugh? I saw Frank the Tank put out a statement. In the middle of it, he burped, and then he had like the burp post burp voice for the rest of it.
I forgot what the got was.
And then he ended it with Lindy Ruff, you suck, which I thought wasn't necessarily called for.
Okay. I remembered it again. So on Holtz's Instagram, he posted like a reposted something where it was basically like can Lindy. Now the Brat Pack sent that out. That he's a savage Devils fan online. We hung out with him last year. He's the one who posted about it. So you just never know with these jock sniffing accounts, right? It's kind of like the Martian in Ottawa. So I don't know if I got or Holtz just genuinely had he had public beef with Lindy. Like he was bringing it to the gram, as they say. So overall, I wish we had like a Devils correspondent on our podcast to maybe break it down better, but we don't because we used to have one, but he got out of hand and we had to hold people accountable. And
sometimes you have to gas people who are bringing you down as a brand.
Negative energy.
And unfortunately, this guy, I mean, he got himself fired right before the biggest news of the season broke with the New Jersey Devils.
And he's like, I mean, he wasn't even vlogging properly anymore either. Like he was just kind of really, it's like he thought he turned into content and it just like, his hot takes were worse than mine, and he's not the main guy.
You know what the final straw with not putting the sixth man on the ice with the pulled goalie?
What?
I think the man who should not be named's terrible chant at Texas, Arizona, that might have ended him. That was the beginning of the end.
Yeah. You could tell he got very confident, didn't know how to dismount on the mic, so he thought he was going to go in there like the fucking Rock. And then ended up like one of the Barstool employees at Improv. And that's it. It's over. It's over. The Devil see. We talked about it earlier. It's official. Put the nail in the coffin. The Devil season is over.
Is it though? I think their schedule is too tough. But what if they somehow get Markstrom on Friday? Apparently, I think Elliotte said that's not going to happen. Maybe this summer though. But I'll tell you this.
The only chance our former worker, whatever you want to call him, jock sniffer, has of getting back is if they somehow figure out a way to revive themselves and make playoffs. I don't think it's happening. They're done like dinner.
They're done. Hamilton, the November season-ending injury for Hamilton, that was just talk about a kick in the dick. I mean, you got guys running the power play that will be awesome power play guys in the future in Hughes or Nemec, but that was your guy. And their power play, I think it's approaching like all-time 30 to 40 game span worse.
Well, they scored a few in the last game. I think they're up to 11 or 12% since January 1st, that was the one thing that was slapping lipstick on a pig in the first half because they were humming. And I believe Travis Green was responsible for that. He's responsible for the power play. So we've rambled on long enough. Like we said, this has been a season from hell for the New Jersey Devils. But hey, Fitzy, he's in a fine spot. Like this team has so many prospects. They have a lot of good pieces. It might not be next year. I don't know when the future is going to be bright. Might not be next year or the year after that, but at some point, it will be bright.
Yeah, they're coming. But all that, you need a goalie. You need a goalie. So if they don't figure that out in the offseason, this could be the same exact record next year, repeating itself over and over. But Devils fans, you got your wish. Lindy Ruff, I mean, that guy's an all-time coach. He's been around the league forever. So, it sucks to see him lose his job, but Devils fans are smiling. Frank the Tank and the man who'll be unnamed are happy people. Let's see if they can do something, figure it out, go on a run, and see what happens with Travis Green. It's an interim tag. I don't know what ends up happening with him as the head coach next year, but it's a story to tune into, and they got the Panthers next, so good luck.
The future's bright.
See you, buddy.